state. I keep seeing people say it's a swing state, but that is not true anymore.
Hey, dude, I pushed the live button, and I was muted the whole time while you and I were talking. And I got like 30 comments. So welcome everyone. Let me just reset the room, Sam, a little bit, because this is the first time you guys are literally watching me do this, but by myself right now. This is funny. But this is the way I learn. And like, I'm actually getting really excited because if I can throw myself in enough, I don't know, like territory where I have to like constantly be on my game, then I get really excited for some reason. Anyway, I like the challenge.
Look good.
The what?
Sunglasses.
Well, you know what I was realizing, dude, was that my eyes are hurting from these lights. And somebody gave me some. They said, "Hey, have you tried the I don't know what they called it?" And I could never do this in front of, like, I can't do it. I'm finding myself much more comfortable just having the shade. So, thank you though, bro. Anybody has some good ideas about some really good of these? What do you call them? The blue mic
Blue light blocking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go on a binge and buy these if it makes it easier for me. So yeah, we're live, baby. The first time I've ever done this. Welcome. Thank you, everyone. Repost, do whatever you got to do. Sam, you can take over. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to start the first hour, right? And we're going to talk with Anna. Why don't you give us her background and kind of the dynamics around politics and what Congress, you know what I'm saying? Give us a little tutorial, like we're all idiots, because I think most of us are on this subject. Just high level, Sam, if you could.
Yeah, so guys, real quick, here I live in Pinellas County, Florida, right? And Pinellas County is its own district, like the entire county is a congressional district. And so when Gary and
I don't know what
met,
I'm doing.
We started getting more politically active. And one of the most basic things you do to be politically active is actually know who your congressmen and women are.
See, now this is interesting.
We actually do a fundraiser.
Can y'all hear this? Can you hear this?
I believe it's really important to be a part of the conversation. And, just that fundraiser, I mean, if I could tell you guys all the people that they were there of political importance, not even on the national level, but on the local level, was fantastic. But Anna Polina Luna is a very young, she's 35 years old, very young upstart. She's Hispanic. She's a great public speaker. She's very tied in with the Trump campaign. And she's definitely part of what I would call like the Freedom Caucus in Congress, where she has a lot of free market, very libertarian views. So she's very popular. She's very awesome. She's very active. She's very aggressive in media. And that's one of the things that kind of makes her different is her approach to media as opposed to some other congressmen and women. But overall, like I don't have enough good things to say about her, but she's been, because of Gary and I, gotten more into the Bitcoin world, right? So she's campaigning right now. She's knocking doors because she does have a Democratic opponent, but it's looking like that won't be an issue for her. When she first got elected, it was a very close election. Like we're talking like an under 5% margin. Like she really had to hustle and work hard. But now Pinellas County, her district has gone so Republican the past 4 years. This should be a pretty easy win for her. But anytime you're in an election, right, you always run like you're 2 points behind, right, which is exactly what she's doing. So, I mean, I think here would be my call to action to you guys. Yeah. It was very Go ahead, Gary.
Sorry.
No, it was very easy for us. I'll tell you this. We raised her probably over $80,000 for her campaign. But the cheapest ticket item there, I think, was about $250. Maybe it might have even been just $100. So if you guys are here and you're listening and you're in the audience, there really is no excuse for you to not be politically active or at least know what's going on. Because for just $100, you could have gone to this fundraiser. You could have met all the power players in the locality that we were in. You could have shook her hand, gotten a photo. It's not as closed off as you think it is. And when you realize how open some of these people really are, you really begin to understand, oh, wow, I can make a difference. I can make an impact. because when we were there, we were asking questions, and a few people, not just us, brought up, for example, Bitcoin. And it's like, if these people aren't hearing from us that it's important to us, that Bitcoin matters, then they're never going to know. They're never going to know. So now we get to talk to her on a Twitter space, which I think is pretty badass, and just shows you how badass of a congresswoman she is.
Yeah, let me just build on that, because I this is something Sam showed me. We went one night. I don't know. We donated something, and we started inviting people. I'm like, what do people have to pay to be here? And it's like, well, $50. And then I thought of the young lady who's in our industry. Hey, Bill, good to have you here, buddy. Young lady that just came to Tampa from New York. She's in the crypto digital asset industry. She's 22, I think. First thing she should do is get involved. At $50 a night, I mean, she's going to meet some guys. She's going to meet some the richest people in the area. I had no clue. My family so miseducated me, man. And Grant, had we known we could just stick our nose into the power by buying tickets and kind of becoming a cheerleader for a side, and you learn the basic politics, and there is a major gap. Bill's going to come up here. I'm telling you guys, there is a major gap in politics right now. Let's say we win and we get our way. There's going to be a massive vacuum. If we don't fill it, it will get filled by the bottom of the barrel. So there's real opportunity to create change here and take a very serious role. I don't know what Luna's background is, but it wasn't like she was bred to do politics, right? Bill, welcome, man. Good to have you.
Hey guys, great to see you. Thanks for inviting me today. I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Hey, thanks for being here, Bill. And just her background, Gary, was in media. She was an influencer and did some marketing, from what I believe. And I was just pulling up some numbers just to double check, just to show you how much things have changed. In 2020, Anna-Lena Luna lost her congressional race by what looks like over 5%. She lost it to the Democrat at the time, which was Charlie Crist.
Yeah.
But then in 2022, she flipped it and won by over 5%. And so now here we are in 2024. So this is actually, she just got elected in 2022. So she's definitely at what you would call a freshman congresswoman. But I think she's going to be here for quite some time, which I think is awesome.
Well, and this is what we need, man, because her husband served.
Really a popular vote. And because the typical MAGA person, the typical Trump supporter, doesn't really respond to a pollster. You know, they don't take a call from an unknown number at dinner time. They don't talk to that person for an hour about their innermost feelings about politics, that sort of thing. So they tend to be underrepresented, and that's something that Nate Silver just mentioned the other day. So if you're getting polls now coming out where Trump is either tied nationally or fewer points, what that really means is in reality he's probably ahead by 3 to 5 points, and you're going to have that big monster vote turn out for him. So at this point in time back in 2016, Hillary was about 10 to 12 points ahead, and then by election day she was only 3 points ahead, and she still lost the electoral vote. So I think Trump is going to do very, very well. The early voting is just off the charts. I mean, great for us. Republicans don't tend to vote early. We're turning in great numbers in Nevada, Pennsylvania, all these different places, Florida. As far as I know, Miami-Dade, which is recently as 2016, used to be deep blue, now is, got more Republicans voting early so far than Democrats.
We voted early.
This is the county where they used to run up huge numbers. I remember on election night in 2016, I had 90 million people watch my Twitter feed that night, and they were all looking at Miami-Dade and all these early votes dropping early, and Florida turned blue. Everybody's freaking out. I said, no, look at the West Coast, look at the Panhandle. We're going to win this state, and we did. But those are the counties that used to drop so big for Democrats early, and we're actually ahead. And you're also looking at New Hampshire, where, in 2020, there were I think 100 and something thousand votes by this time. And there are only, I think, like 15 or 20,000 votes in New Hampshire, in this particular region now. So the enthusiasm is not there for the left, for Kamala. And I think not only are we going to win this election at the top of the ticket, I think we stand a decent chance down ballot as well. And if you look at the betting markets right now, Poly market and so on and so forth, the biggest bet right now, as close you get to a sure thing, is that a Republican sweep, where we take the White House, the House, and the Senate. So, of course, the Democrats can cheat, but it's much more difficult this time because it's hard to rob the same bank twice because they're watching for you. And also, Joe Biden had a 7-point lead in the RCP average on election day in 2020. Well, right now, it's like tied or Trump is moving ahead. It's kind of hard to bury that, to have some huge victory for Kamala come kind of out of the blue. You also don't have COVID and this sort of thing. So I'm very hopeful that we can win this. And I think that maybe within the halls of power of the Democrat Party, they may be looking at this and they may be saying, do we really want Kamala to be president? Because, she might be a very bad president. She may be so bad that we have a huge red wave in 2026, that we get another younger, like a J.D. Vance or DeSantis coming in 2028, take us out. Maybe we almost would be better off, take the L on this, let Trump come in there. Hopefully they'll overplay their hand and we can come back in 2026 and have a blue wave in the midterm election. So anyway, I don't want to overtalk this, but that's sort of my read on it.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's pretty spot on.
Thank you.
The only difference would be, I don't think anyone, that the last part of that, under no circumstances is she going to be running anything.
Right.
And so, I think they just get comfortable that we don't have a president for 4 years that actually shows up. I mean, why would they show up to the table and do what? I mean, our transparency from the government has been slipping by the decade radically, right? So it's not they'll just disappear.
Well, this strategy they have now, which is almost inexplicable to me, they're running with this article that ran in the Atlantic, which has been thoroughly debunked. It's like many years old, where this unnamed source by the other people that were there, they're like, I never heard that, And so they're running with this, and they're out there. For instance, Tim Walz was out there today talking to college students, and he said, if Trump is elected, he is going to send the army and arrest you for being a Democrat. And I'm like, what?
Who said this?
Tim Walz said that today.
Oh, right. Okay, got it.
It's complete madness, and this whole idea that Trump is a fascist and Trump is a dictator. I mean, Trump was the president for 4 years, and he did not act like a fascist or a dictator. I did a hit on that today about what is fascism versus nationalism, the difference, and pointed out that Trump is not in any way, shape, or form a fascist. They're just throwing it out there. And so when a party is 2 weeks from the election and they're not running on their agenda at all, and they're just running on ad hominem attacks, they're in trouble, and they know they're in trouble.
Yeah, totally agree. What Bill, what would you do if you were, let's say, Dr. Evil? Let's play a little game here. I like doing this with really smart people. You're Dr. Evil, okay? And your back is absolutely up against the wall. I don't think you thought you were going to be here. What would you do in the next 2 weeks to ensure that your sins from the past stayed there?
Are you talking about if I'm a Democrat?
Oh no, if you're Dr. Evil and you want to steal this from Trump, you want to take it from the like if we lose this one, we're done for good, right? We're
Yeah.
going to have something else happen for that to change. I'm sure the other side, if I'm on the other side, there's just too many sins. There's too many events that have happened that are going to come out into the open.
Yeah, the Democrats are really in a spot here because, you know, in order for them to hide their sins, they need to have Kamala win. They need to have her win convincingly, so she has a mandate, and she has to get the House, and she has to get the Senate as well.
Yep.
Because if Republicans control one of those, they can stop anything that she does. And then, of course, we can run on her as a do-nothing failure president, and then take a big majority in the midterms, and then come back and win again in 2028. But Democrats, you know, a lot of us think, oh, they're evil, and I'll say, okay, but they are clever, and they play long ball. And they may be looking at the situation and saying, you know, we might be better off. Let me a scenario that would go into the Democrat mind. They might say, you know, let's go ahead and let Trump win this thing, and maybe even win, and maybe the House and the Senate. So, you know, he comes in like he did the first time with majorities in both chambers. Well, we think based on what we saw last time, because, you know, Trump came in 2016 with the House and the Senate, and then we had a blue wave in 2018. What happened? Well, they overplayed their hand. So what we think is if we give Trump this opportunity, and we're on the brink of a global recession anyway, maybe he'll inherit a recession. Maybe he'll overplay his hand. We can paint them as extreme in 2026. We can take back the House and the Senate, then come back in 2028, take back the White House with a fresh face. So I think that's probably what they're thinking. They're playing long ball, and they're also worried about, you know, Democrats are much more worried about their brand than they were about Kamala Harris or anything like that. They want to preserve their brand. And so I think that may be their strategy right now. And that's what I would do if I was them, you know, you know, and they're I think they may be allowing Kamala to go forward with this whole dictator fascism because it's so preposterous and so ridiculous. They're looking for a scapegoat. That if they lose this thing, they want to blame it on and say, hey, you know, here we were 2 weeks before the election. She doesn't even have an agenda. She's talking about all this fascism, dictator stuff. And saying, it was her fault. It wasn't the Democrat brand that was at fault. It was Kamala Harris's fault. Under the bus she goes. And then they start positioning themselves for the midterms. That's what I would do if I was them.
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably let us have a landslide, really play up how great he is, and then any failure, just magnify the shit out of it.
Well, the problem, you know, they say that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the problem,
it's been my experience. Has it been yours?
Yeah, it is my experience as well.
Yep.
And the problem that you have is when you control both chambers and the White House, it is very easy to overplay your hand. And that's probably what they're counting on. Is, you know, in the first minefield is going to be the deportations. How do we handle that? You know, you can't be putting families into boxcars on day one. It's a bad look. The media will jump all over that. You know, we've got to deport the criminals first, and then we've got to put forth laws and rules. I think,
Bill, let me challenge that. And Sam, manage me, Bill and I, because if somebody comes in here, you want to switch, just feel free. But we have European leaders saying, hey, fuck off. We're no longer doing this. We cannot survive at this rate. It's illegal in Italy. She's trying to pass that. Now, if we have 3 or 4 countries, it is unsustainable. And they have been suffering it for 4 years prior to us. If they put their foot down, I think America might be. I agree. We're going to have to put our foot down either way, right? It's going to be a fight. Even after January the 5th, you're going to have to put a bunch of boots on the ground and do different things. I don't know how although it may, if the media is balanced, don't you think that's something we should be able to handle? Because I think the United States is ready to go, hey, we cannot keep taking all these people. There's no process here whatsoever.
I think it has to go by, everybody's heard of the concept of boiling a frog, right?
Yep.
That if you take a frog and put him in a pan of boiling water, he's going to jump out. But if you put him in a pan of warm water and slowly heat it up, he won't realize it's getting hotter before you know it, you have cooked frog. And this is how, change takes place. Change doesn't happen quickly. It takes place gradually. America is like a big ocean liner. You can't turn an ocean liner around on a dime because it'll capsize. You have to slowly go around a bend, and people have to get used to ideas. The problem with the deportations is you have the old kids in cages imagery. I guarantee you, the first family with a bunch of screaming, crying kids being loaded onto a bus or a boxcar, the media will go crazy with that, and they'll say, "Look, he was a dictator, he was a fascist." So here would be my: do what everybody agrees on first. Go after the criminals. Anybody's got a criminal history, even a parking ticket. Anybody that is involved in drugs, anybody that's involved in sex trafficking, anybody that's involved in anything. Get those people out first. In the meantime, while you're doing that, put together a plan and say, okay, a year from today, we're putting in a plan where there's going to be e-verify, where employers are going to be severe penalties if they hire you. There will be no rent assistance. There will be no EBT cards. There will be no medical or anything like that. So remove the attractive hazard. You know, if you have a swimming pool in your backyard and you go on vacation for a month and you come home and the neighbor's kid drowned in your pool because you didn't put up a fence, you can be sued for having an attractive hazard. Well, America under Joe Biden has become an attractive hazard. They all want to come here. But if we put out the message that, listen, you no longer be able to make a, living here, you won't be able to live off the government here, you can't send money back home here, that removes the attractive hazard and they'll stop coming. And so that's the idea. Stop the inflow and also set it up so that a lot of these people, as opposed to having the optics of loading them onto boxcars and all that stuff and all the imagery of Nazi Germany and all that, that you will get these people to want to self-deport and even help them. I mean, you could fly every single illegal alien in America home on a first-class ticket, and you would still save money about what it costs to have them.
Oh,
So
for sure.
Bill,
I think that's
Bill, I totally agree. We do have Anna Felina Luna in the room, by the way, and I do want to give her as much time as possible because she is literally knocking doors right now and campaigning as we speak. So I know we only got her for a short bit, but Anna, it is so awesome to see you here, have you here in Twitter Spaces. Gary and I love the fact that you're here and able to join us. So the floor is yours, Gary. Go ahead, Anna. Go ahead.
Anna, real quick, Anna, I just want to tell everyone, and they know I don't throw butter around very often, but you are my favorite politician I've ever met. I met you, your husband, your security. I liked all three of you. And it really gave me promise that there were some people around my neighborhoods that were actually getting to work. So really appreciate you being here. Appreciate all the work you're doing, and welcome to everybody here. You guys need to know Anna, okay, and our whole team. Welcome, Anna.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know it's a little bit noisy as we speak, and so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supporting our re-election. I'm sure you've been seeing that even though we are polling 6 points ahead, that suppression media is real, and the same thing that's happening with President Trump. You know that he's surging in the polls, and he's also projected to win the national popular vote. They're not even wanting to report on that. So we are projected to win. We're out here not giving up on it. You always want to practice and pretend like you're 10 points behind, and we're projected to win this election day.
How excited are you?
I'm super excited, but I'm actually more excited that people are showing up early to the polls, not just here in Canal City, but across the country. A lot of people are saying, why should we vote in person, vote early? And it's a couple of things. First of all, when you vote early, it actually helps to prevent voter fraud because your vote is already counted and there's live tracking of that based on Republican turnout. And then also, for the Republicans who haven't voted, the GOP is coming in and micro-targeting, whether it's doing ballot chasing, whether it's phone banking, door knocking, or actually physically going to those people's houses and saying, hey, have you voted yet, or driving to the polls. So you want to make sure that you are doing a massive voter mobilization effort so early. And I can tell you to just give reassurance to people who might be concerned that their vote doesn't count. When Trump brought in Watley over as the co-chair and really restructure the RNC, he did that because the RNC under previous leadership with Ron McDaniel, they weren't doing their jobs. They weren't doing anything in regards to grassroots activism, ballot chasing, none of that. And that has received a full-time overhaul, but not just that, we have thousands of attorneys on the ground and ready to go in the event that people are trying to get fishy on election day.
That's awesome. A lot more comfortable about our ground game in the legal strategy this time around, so no surprises. We're ready for everything.
Yeah, 1,000%. I can tell you, also too, in Pennsylvania. I actually just talked to Scott Pressler, and to my knowledge, they actually just dropped a lawsuit in Pennsylvania. But I've also met with, the GOP chairman in Nevada. They purged all of their voter rolls, and as you're seeing in Nevada, we're actually leading early in elections for Republican voters. But not just there, it's been in Georgia as well. You're seeing that we're surging in Georgia. That's also had election integrity launched, and then also in other swing states. So our operation this time around, it's pretty impressive that they were able to stand it up so quickly. But again, there's a lot of people working at the grassroots level, and honestly, shout out to Scott Pressler because he's been an absolute game changer for the GOP.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Gary, do you have any questions? We had Scott Pressler on a space, I think, last month. And some of the he is. He's amazing.
No, I look, Anna, I think what are the biggest issues that you want to tackle once we have won?
Well, look, we in the House have co-sponsored legislation. I, as well as Thomas Massey and a few other members, have co-sponsored the legislation to authorize cutting taxes on tips, on Social Security, and then I separately introduced something along with Jared Moskowitz, who's a Democrat here in Florida, to cap student loan interest at 3%. But I think some of the biggest issues are, number one, we have record high inflation, but we have that because of really terrible policies, specifically in the energy sector. So we're rolling back a lot of that bureaucracy and red tape and really tapping into our natural resources here in the States. I'm not a pure isolationist, but speaking from a real perspective, we don't really need anyone else, right? We have such vast amounts of natural resources here in the States. And it's ridiculous that we're depending on places like Venezuela, for example, for oil, which, by the way, doesn't even support our values here in the States. So I'm all for unleashing American energy independence. And I know that, that's probably going to be one of the top issues, along with closing the borders on day one when Trump gets into office. So we're very excited.
We're the only country in the world that can be self-sufficient, especially with technology. The only country in the world. And I actually like us trading with Venezuela, though. And if it's right, deplete them. And then we can use ours later. But
What I will say is that any foreign policy changes from the current administration is welcome, because what I'm hearing at the Democracy Partnership Institute, so I've been able to travel to many foreign countries around the world to meet with their world leaders, whether it's, the Prime Minister of South Korea or the President of Indonesia. And there's a massive push right now from those countries to really, I think, get China out of the way, because China's putting a lot of pressure on them, right? And so without the United States being as strong as we typically are, they're receiving a lot of pressure from China. So that's, I think, the number one goal and objective of this administration, is to really restore our position on the world stage. And I think that largely ties into our positions on cryptocurrencies. So I know, Gary, that I've been able to talk with you about Bitcoin, but I think that there's also a change in Congress where a lot of the younger legislators specifically are embracing the idea of Bitcoin, where a lot of the older ones might not necessarily do that. So I think you'll see some Bitcoin legislation come through the pipe as well.
yeah. Sam, what do you think? Got anything for Anna so she can get back to the door knocking?
Yeah, I think it's badass. Just real quick, Anna, do you think we're going to keep the House Republican? Do you think we'll be able to have a trifecta?
Yeah, I think that we're going to have the juggernaut, but I think that it might, based on the voter turnout right now, I think that we're going to keep it. I don't know if it'll be a massive majority, but I think that we'll for sure keep the majority that we have. Put it in perspective, for any member of Congress, or an incumbent, it's a 90% reelection rate. So what we're finding is the Democrats know right now that Kamala Harris is in bad positioning for her election as president. So she's not going to be the president. So what they're doing is they're starting to shift resources into some of these vulnerable House seats. And so some races to watch would be, I think, Brandon Williams in New York 22, Mike Waller's seats, also to Scott Perry in Pennsylvania. These are all battleground seats where Democrats are really, really putting in millions of dollars to try to basically knock these Republican incumbents out, so that they can control the House majority. And that's incredibly important that that doesn't happen, because we want to make sure that we don't have any blockages in regards to an American First agenda under President Trump.
You guys hearing okay?
Hopefully. Good deal. Good freaking deal.
Okay, so you guys are probably hearing the leaf blower in the background, but thank you so much for having me on. And I appreciate your guys' support. Gary, you're crushing it. You and your brother are the heat. So we're happy to have you on Team MAGA.
You're the bomb. Tell your husband hello. You guys follow Anna. She's awesome. She's really awesome. Sam, hopefully you didn't look, I'm not going to pull these people in there and drag them out for another 10 or 15 minutes, asking them a bunch of questions. I really respect the time they're taking. Anna, you can exit like as fast as you want. I don't blame you. You got your calendar so full. I just have so much empathy for the way they're working. I mean, it's
dude, knocking doors is no joke. I've done it for many campaigns, just volunteered here and there. And in Florida, go back to bitching about the weather. You're so sweaty by the time you've done a full day of knocking doors, but it's very cool. You either get someone giving you the middle finger, or you have someone inviting you over for sweet tea because you like your candidate. So it's tough work.
Bill, what do you think of her? You know her well? Or?
Yeah, she's great. As a matter of fact, as I recall, way back in the day, I think before she was actually running for Congress, I reached out to her about either doing a show or coming on the show. I think maybe we were going to produce a show or something, but I think then she went, the political route as far as running for office, and that never took place. So, but I've always thought very highly of her. She's just terrific, and she's just, really a model of what the modern conservative woman is. I mean, just, embraces her femininity, embraces her strength and her intelligence. Clearly, she's extremely bright. And this intimidates the Democrats to no end because, they don't have a bench. All of their leaders are incredibly old. They have, Newsom. I mean, my God, they've got the Stepford wife there in Michigan. I mean, they have nothing, and we have such a deep bench. So it's just very exciting, and I think the future looks much better for us than for the Democrats, and I think they know that. That's why they're, desperate people do desperate things, and the Democrats are acting very desperate. They're not acting confident.
That's what I was asking you. If you were the evil one, what would you do? I actually think they're in such harm's way at this point that they're going to try and do something before the election. Let's not have an election. Let's have something else. It just feels like that. It's what I would do. I mean, I would go to any links, Bill. Any links. Okay.
It's really hard to say. It's like you got to wonder why the powers that be, and Nancy Pelosi has got her tentacles and all this stuff because she's the one that made Biden step aside. You got to wonder why they're letting Kamala make such a fool of herself out there. I mean, this whole fascist dictator thing, and standing there, outside of the vice president's residence, standing there behind the vice presidential seal with all the gravitas that holds. And to make these ridiculous, insane accusations, it's just a terrible look for her. And to me, I think they really may be positioning her to be the fall person on this and to take the hit. And you know what? America is, loves the Democratic Party. They love the liberal agenda, but we just had the wrong messenger here. We'll come back with a better messenger next time. And you'll see that everything we told you about the Republicans is true because they're going to overreach and Trump's going to indict people and all this stuff. So they always have a strategy. The left never has a come to Jesus moment. They never get religion. They never repent. They always push forward because in their hearts, they're Marxists, and Marxists never give up. They've been trying for, hundreds of years now. So I think that's how it's going to play out. And I think that, we need to look at our first 100 days once Trump wins, and hopefully we win both houses. We need to look at it like Newt Gingrich ran the contract with America. You guys are old enough to remember that. And that was really remarkable. And they had a checklist. It's like, okay, we got these 50 items. Like, okay, we did this, bam, we did that, bam, we did that. And that was so incredibly effective. And I think that Trump really needs to have something like that. So, because for many people, politics is this amorphous, definable thing. And so you've got to make it emotional and you've got to make it concrete where they can say, okay, we got this done. Bam, I can hold on to that. We got this done. Bam, I can hold on. And not only that we got it done, the facts, but, sell them the sizzle of that, say, listen, we had this problem. This is our idea on how to fix it. This is how we solved it. And here's the benefit to you. That's the 4 steps of sales, right? So that's how they need to do it, is to make this emotional and make people realize this is what this policy did for you on a real day-to-day basis. And if we approach it like that, I mean, the first 100 days of the Trump administration can literally change the world. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Bill, and I'll get to you, Mike Mack, and then you, Eladio. I know you guys have been patient. Really appreciate you guys. And also, guys, reminder, retweet the space, leave a comment. Let's get those numbers up. But I think what's cool and really, really remarkable is now Trump, I think, has the coolest dream team that we've ever seen. We've got Tulsi Gabbard, we got Vivek, we got Elon Musk, we got Vance, we got Kennedy. Like, I think all those people running on the federal level is just going to be insanely awesome. I have a feeling everyone in this room agrees with that. But I'm very excited to see what positions those people take and how, like, he's just got such a good team now. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Mike. What you got for us?
Mike, you don't have anything to say, Mike? What's wrong with you, dude?
Somebody was talking about a former
I
president.
can't hear him. Can you
I
hear
didn't know
him?
who was speaking.
Yeah, I can hear him. Who needs to come down? Have you been able to hear everybody, Mike?
Yeah, I can hear everybody. Everybody
Yeah.
sounds great.
Sam, you and my twin
Want me to
brother.
pop down?
Yeah, pop down, bro. If you
All right, I'll
can't
be
hear,
back.
if you can't hear, pop it. Mike Mack, how you doing, pal?
Doing good, brother. Yeah, so I went out and I saw your video of you voting like that. We went out and voted today as well. Did that early. And when I was going to ask, and I thought Bill brought up some good points. Well, one of them, talking about the long game, I do think that they might be kind of throwing this one away because you couldn't pick a worse VP than Walz. Like, there's no way if you vetted him that he's going to be able to stand up to scrutiny. And if you wanted to really win this election,
Mike,
assuming that he would have done it, Shapiro's your VP.
Yeah,
Like
good
instant,
lord.
like that's a legitimate
No,
shot
no.
at winning it is just to be able to do the VP pick to be able to get a state. And there's a good chance that Shapiro probably gets you Pennsylvania if everything is on the up and up. But what I was going to ask, and maybe you guys have some feedback on this, is, the early voters that we're seeing now, like, I've never seen this before with someone on the right. And so I'm wondering, are the early voters that are out there now that are Republicans that are showing up really, really well, is that the guys that is our numbers going to go down on voting day, like on election day? Or are these kind of people that are so enthused, like new, vibrant voters that are looking to get out and make their voice heard for Trump, and they're the ones that are out there doing this new vote? Like, is this sustainable? Is this real? I guess I don't want to be, I'm not trying to be like scaredy cat, I guess you could say, but I'm just like, I don't want to get excited because I know what they can do at the end of the day. So I was wondering.
Mike, let me jump in on that because I know a little bit about that. What I've been hearing from my sources in the field is that a lot of this early vote is what we called the monster vote in 2016. What was the monster vote? The monster vote was people who typically didn't vote but came out and voted for Trump. And that's why they weren't being polled, because they weren't on anybody's likely voter list. And I think that what we're hearing right now is that a lot of these people coming out and voting early are people that are the result of the door knocking and the calling and so on and so forth, and the outreach, that they are new voters that weren't involved in the process before that are going out and voting. So, are we just cannibalizing our day of vote? We'll find out. I mean, there's no way to know for sure. But the fact that the Democrats are not turning out the numbers they turned out before early, which means they've got an enthusiasm problem. And I mean, we had, what's weird is in 2020, we had 30 million more votes than 2016. It sounds crazy, right? So, and despite the fact that a month before the election, Joe Biden was 30 points behind Trump in enthusiasm to vote. So I won't go down that rabbit hole, but it did seem very strange. So but anyway, that's what I've heard.
No, I think that makes sense. And the way you put it was perfect. Cannibalizing our day of, our election day votes. I think that was definitely a great way to put it. But, we're seeing it every day, though, with, they went a while and they did pretty good. They controlled themselves without using the Hitler and the fascists and the dictator. But now that stuff is coming out like children. And then they're talking about, of course, he's going to be authoritarian and deport everybody. But I think that Americans are ready. I mean, if we're going to put our foot down, I think we can do it. I think we can do what Europe's starting to do. As long as, I think we start with the criminals. And I think we can segue into a bigger population. I think a lot of them would do it voluntarily just because they don't want to get caught up in it. But, putting that deadline in the future a little bit to say, look, there's no penalty if you act now on your own accord. But right now we're going to get these criminals and then we're going to get other people. I really think we're ready for that.
Yeah, let me just throw in real quick on that as well. Yeah, that's what I was saying before, is that it's important that we do this in a compassionate way. Now with the criminals, you can just kick those out because everybody's going to agree on that. But if you can set it up so that, the others that are here will not want, it'll no longer be beneficial for them to be here. They'll want to go back home, especially you say, listen, we'll buy you a plane ticket home. You don't have to, cross the burning desert to go home. We'll buy you a plane ticket home. Go ahead. We'll pay your rent for the first month you're there. Go ahead. Just and it will save us hundreds of billions of dollars just doing that. So to me, that's the best strategy. And, to get rid of the bad people first and then go with a process of really self-deportation where we're no longer attractive, and also stopping the inflow. Because if people know that, let's going to risk getting murdered or raped or all this stuff coming across the Mexico, and then I'm going to go to America and I'm just going to not be able to earn a living. I'm not going to be able to get benefits or an EBT card. I'm not going. So to me, that's a good strategy. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, do you agree? Mike, you got nothing on that? You couldn't improve on Bill's pitch? I thought that was excellent.
Hey, Bill's pretty sharp, man. I was thinking, I saw Sam's mic was off, and so I just figured that he was talking and I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
No, you're good. I was just, I'm back up here, but I actually agree with what Bill was saying. My only slight caveat would be, traditionally Democrats always vote early and Republicans come in on the day of, just to answer your question, Mike. And so that's when Republicans kind of make up that vote. I think now the message has been, you don't want to be stuck on election day when something goes wrong. And so now Republicans are voting early. I don't think it's necessarily going to be more. I think it's just going to be more proportional. But it still shows you that if Republicans are at par or even with Democrats as far as early voting goes, that is a very bullish sign for Republicans, because Democrats almost always lead, and Democratic voter patterns aren't changing. It's not like they're all of a sudden going to flip and start voting on the day of the election as well. They mostly vote early. So if Republicans just match that and still come out on election day, that's a very, very bullish sign for Republicans, which is essentially what Bill said.
Hey, Sam, with your politically racist eye, when we went and voted the other day, as you were, what's it called? Basically sussing up these people. Were they Democrats or Republicans? I didn't really notice. Well, I don't have that.
You mean like the poll workers?
I don't have that kind of political racism that you have. Yeah, no, everybody that was voting and are there. Yeah, what would you say? The majority were Democrats or Republicans? I was kidding on the racist stuff. I thought that would elicit some humor.
What's funny is traditionally you would say, traditionally I would go, okay, look, all the people who are voting middle of the day, they're probably retired, they're probably older boomers, right? Stereotypes, so they're going to be Republicans, right? But in this election, some of the largest groups supporting Kamala Harris are women from the ages 50 plus, right? So there's some dynamics that are changing, and so it was kind of interesting because I noticed a lot of the people there were older white women, and that is Kamala's current demographic. So I wouldn't be surprised if those voters while we were there were actually Democrats. But that's such a huge speculation, right? There's so many things who know.
White women voting for Kamala, man. These women are in a bad marriage, huh?
That's one of their, it's very interesting. I was reading some polling the other day, how traditionally, when you're thinking of the Democratic and Republican Party and what divides the two parties, everyone's always thinking race, religion. Well, for this election, it's majorly gender. And you're having a lot of Black men, a lot of Hispanic men turn out hugely for Trump, but a lot of white women, a lot of Black women are going even stronger for Kamala Harris, which I found very interesting. And that's even, that number increases when you're looking at the 18 to 35 bracket of voter. So the younger people are even more bifurcated when it comes to all the young men are voting very Republican and all the young women are voting very Democratic. So this is like one of the first.
You're saying the young women. You're saying the young women.
Yeah.
And by young women, you're like under 30?
18 to 35.
Wow.
That demographic. So I found that very fascinating that if you just Google this election and gender, it's the first time gender has been so pronounced, like more pronounced than it's ever been when it's come to a presidential election. So I found that.
I bet I could guess 5 characteristics of between those voters. Guarantee it comes. It's got to be there. It's got to be there.
I think you'd be very spot on.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be spot on.
Yeah. Eladia, you got your hand up. I know you've been waiting, man. What's going on?
Eladia, good to have you here, buddy.
Well, you know, I'm from Miami. I went to every game of the 1972 Dolphins. I know Bill knows that. I know Gary knows that. Every year they were going to the Super Bowl. And
My
it's one
daughter
of the last
can
time they went to
steal.
the Super Bowl was. Do you hear me?
Yeah, so sorry. I was speaking into the other. My daughter came in here. I think she took $100 from me. So
All right, that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
she's learning.
To make a long story short, I was a Dolphins fan, and the Dolphins. I just had the Super Bowl. The Dolphins going to the Super Bowl. And we haven't been to one since I invited my wife in college to come to the Super Bowl party. She wasn't
See,
even
I
a
was trying to
girlfriend
use some
back
humor
then,
there.
and now she's my wife
And
40
it
years
didn't really
later.
work.
So let me just tell you the facts. The fact is that
Monster
this looks
cookie.
really horrible. I took a lot of flack because of the poly markets. I know that poly markets are betting markets. They're AI blockchain based, but they're really a great derivative that shows what transpired the day Elon Musk jumped into stage in Butler, Pennsylvania. And since then, I've never seen a pivot point. It reminds me of when the caucus in 1988 got in a tank and looked ridiculous. And, you know, they had the Willie Horton problem and the Boston Harbor problem, and that was it. And I don't want to be overconfident. Everybody has to vote because, you know what? You're absolutely right. Last year, the last time I thought they were going to win, but I posted some numbers, and I look at outliers. When I invest, as Bill knows, I'm a money manager, but I look for outliers, and the outliers are simple. There was a CNN analyst that showed that the independent vote is ahead by 5 percentage points, was ahead by 5 or 6 percentage points for Biden. This is a CNN analyst 4 years ago, and that Trump has a 1% lead in independent votes in the Rust Belt states of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And then I also put, I like to look at people that are not pro-Trump, like Frank Lutz and Mark Halpern, and they're pretty good. And they basically said point blank, Samuel was 100% right. If indeed the voting that we've had in the last few weeks remains, we're going to know on election night about Trump winning. The question now becomes, will we pick up the Senate, which I think we will. I think Tester's gone in Montana. He's done. And I also think that there's a race in Wisconsin that's awfully close. And I think we're going to pick up some seats. I'm just hopeful that the local politics and the ground roots politics are going to give us the House so we could get the full sweep. We need the full sweep here to undo these 4 years.
Gary, we got Scott Pressler. He's the persistence in the audience. If you can, just because I'm not a co-host, if you could invite him up to speak. He's who Anna Polina Luna was just talking about. He's on the ground in Pennsylvania, and he's been in charge of a lot of the ground game for the Republican Party. He's just been a real player. You've had him on the station previously. If you could, Scott, if you don't mind, invite yourself up to speak. We'll accept your Gary. If you could bring him up, that'd be awesome. Because I'd love to hear what you're seeing right now in Pennsylvania and what numbers you're showing.
Yeah, I'm looking for him right now. You're not the co-host because you lost your thing. Okay.
He's the persistent.
Yep,
His
okay.
name is the persistent.
I'll start flipping you guys around. Joel wants to come up. That's cool. Y'all continue, and I'll get him up. I'll find him some more.
Okay, good deal. Eladio, you know what's interesting? While we're waiting, are you still in Miami? I forget. You're not. Correct?
No. Unfortunately, my vote doesn't count because I live in Western Maryland. But Western Maryland is a very Republican area. But you know, the cities are horrific. You know, in the Northeast. In fact, a lot of people don't know that. I believe Miami was the only city that had 2 million people that went to Donald Trump in the whole country.
What's that? Who's that coming
Yo, whoever's doing that, knock it off or get out of the room.
Yeah.
What I was saying is that Miami, Florida, to the best of my knowledge, was the first American city in the United States in the last election in a long time with over 2 million people that went for Donald Trump. And as you all know, it also went to the Republicans for Donald Trump. And I'm sorry? Okay, I was hearing some noise. And I really feel I'm going to post
Grant,
this,
you should.
the post that I just put up, which shows that
You should just join me here, Grant.
CNN actually had one of these guys on a board showing that the independent vote is certainly not going in the direction that you would want in the actual blue wall that they call. I mean, I'm very optimistic, but we still have to get the vote because you never know, right?
100% agree. 100% agree. You know, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with Congresswoman Luna. You still play like you're 10 points behind, right? Like you want to be confident, but you don't act confident, right? You still act like you got to knock on every door, and that you got plenty to do. And I think that's what the Republicans are doing. It's what I hope they're doing. But it is crazy how I really think, to your point, all eyes are on Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. I think those are going to be the states that matter the most, more than anything. And we'll know if Trump wins Pennsylvania. Hopefully we know that on election day and there's no delays. We'll see what happens there, right? But if he wins Pennsylvania, it's game over, in my opinion. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that, but
I agree. That's the 5th largest state, I believe, in terms of electoral votes behind the big 4, which are split up between Republicans, and so that's the logical one. But the fact that he is challenging in Wisconsin is huge, and then there's also the popular vote spread. I believe that Biden was ahead by almost 6% at least at the end of the count. And now Biden is and Kamala is just ahead marginally by 2 points on the popular vote, 2.5 points. I mean, I just don't think that they're going to be able to pull it off.
I agree with you, but I'm prepared for anything. Gary, were you able to get Scott Pressler up?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I thought I did bring him up. I gave him yeah, I thought I did. I thought I said yes. Let's see. Where is he? People are laughing at me going, yeah, I accepted. He should be up. Is he not here?
He's up. He's ready.
Yeah.
He's there.
Now I'm going to give you the co-host job. Let's keep your link on it now. Okay, there we go. I think that's all good. Right? The problem is I can't hear one.
Can you hear me, Gary?
I can hear you, Grant. I can hear no one else speaking.
Can you explain the gentleman that was speaking why him being so close in Wisconsin is so important?
Yeah. Is this Grant?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Grant, this is Eladio Santiago. I know your brother more, but you're a true patriot, and thank you for introducing Trump at his rallies like you did recently.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, Wisconsin is a really weird state, and Green Bay, obviously, a lot of people. You know, what really bothers me is that Mark Zuckerberg, gave 400 million out of the kindness of his heart to the Wisconsin Green Bay area. What a nice man. And did you hear a peep from anybody? Nothing. And now Elon Musk is trying to get the vote out, and he gets a letter from the Justice Department. I mean, is this guy Garland? Are we thankful that this guy did not end up being a Supreme Court justice? I mean, can you imagine? And the way they turn on Elon Musk, what a tragedy. You know why? Because free speech to the left is only the speech they want to hear. They don't want to hear free speech. And it's darn time that we respect the Constitution, that First Amendment, okay? And the press has been horrid about censoring inconvenient news for the Kamala Harris campaign. And the biggest mistake that gave this election away, they made a mistake by not picking Josh Shapiro. They would have probably taken Pennsylvania and won the election. But you know why they couldn't? Because then they would have lost Michigan and Minnesota, which has the majority of the Arab vote in this country. And I think that, you know, you have to really look at the progressive young left and the way they have turned on really the only democracy in the Middle East, because Israel is the only democracy, and we got to back what is correct and right. And it's just a shame that our children have been indoctrinated. My daughter was in the Princeton area for college, and the minute I walked in there, I said, I don't like the looks of this. And this was like 8 years ago. And these Ivy League colleges have become political indoctrination camps.
Eladio, you sound like Kamala, man. I asked you about Wisconsin.
Well, okay, Wisconsin is a very interesting state. It's very balanced, but as you know, it has the Rust Belt worker, and the Democratic Party has abandoned the actual union worker, the actual steel mill factory from Pittsburgh employees, and the whole Democratic Party is more interested in supporting people that live in New York that show up on Morning Joe. They're multimillionaires. They drive their limousines, and they've forgotten what it's like to be a hardworking American and actually go to a job. And that's why they're going to lose, I think, at least 2 of the 3 Rust Belt states.
Grant, if Trump just wins Wisconsin, he could win. So he could lose Minnesota, he could lose Michigan, and he could lose Pennsylvania. If he wins Wisconsin, it puts him at 272 for the Electoral College. So Trump literally just needs to win Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania, and then win what he won last time, including Georgia, and it's a win for him. Just looking at the math.
So Wisconsin, 100% with Sam. 100%. Wisconsin.
Yeah. So why is he not spending all his time there then?
I don't know what they're seeing on the ground, but there's so many avenues, right? So I think he spent a majority of his time in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, right? Probably anytime you see him doing a rally, and I tell people this too, though, whatever their internal polling numbers are, for example, he had a rally at the California that you were at. He had a rally in Colorado. He had one in Virginia.
For a second.
He's also trying to keep the House Republican, and he's been having rallies in states that have flip seats for the House. So those are not just him campaigning for the presidency. So it is interesting because he's essentially betting that he's pretty safe on the presidency, and he's now campaigning for the House, which it would be my strategy if I were him too, I think. I mean, he's going on Joe Rogan Friday. I don't know strategically. I think it's a good idea.
be in Texas, he could be in Pennsylvania. It's a little bit of chaos.
Hi, y'all. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Kay. I have to keep it with my southern sister. But it's interesting when Trump was in Michigan, the Arabic population there, kind of their father of the group, stood up and said, we're going to be voting for Trump because he's the only president where we have the opportunity to have peace in the Middle East. So this has consequences now in the Middle East,
take a break
where
every
it's
now and then,
impacting
guys.
the vote. So they didn't
Otherwise, I
read the
won't like
room
this.
well in Michigan, and looking at these different subgroups of voters, they're trending to Trump because of the Middle East. So this is substantial because this is across the whole country. They're collecting and organizing to do this. So that's exciting. Tammy Baldwin is out now talking about the border wall like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. We've got other Democrat Congress out there talking about, oh, I was on NAFTA because this is for the workers and I'm for the wall. They are distancing and running away from Kamala Harris. When is the last time you saw somebody stumping for the Senate?
Now, you'll notice I'm not interrupting this lady, but I do think she's going on a little long, and it makes it difficult for me to run a room with a bunch of different people and do this because I don't want to bore you guys with it. But hopefully you guys can hear me. Appreciate you letting me take a break there. I'll start putting advertisements up there in between, you know, every 7 minutes. Micro.
Yeah, this is the problem. And CNN town hall with
Companies
Kamala
gonna get their
and
face ripped
Anderson
off.
Cooper, it was horrific. She couldn't answer questions. Van Jones goes, we can't deal with word salad. Dana Bush.
Hey, you guys, if you want to come up and speak, like, follow
She
me.
could not answer any
I'm
question.
not
and she knew
gonna
every
ask you to
single
come up
question,
and
she
speak
couldn't answer.
on X.
If you
You've got
can't do well
14
on
followers.
CNN,
You follow 3
where
people,
is she gonna do
and you're
anything
asking to
now?
speak,
We've got Joe Rogan
and
on
you don't follow me.
Friday.
Unbelievable.
And then we
Your
got
mother,
Madison Square Garden,
if you had
and
one,
now that McDonald's in there, Trump is taking all the news
go
rights.
home and let her slap you
So
around a little
that's
bit because you clearly
So I'll land my plane.
missed the lesson.
It is crazy. It is crazy, isn't it? Because I view people like Anderson Cooper.
Can you guys hear this or not?
The world, they're propaganda. They're not interviewers. They're not media people. They're
Oh yeah,
direct.
no
They
problem.
tell you
No,
exactly
no
what
problem, Fib.
the
Fib, what do you
propaganda
think
state
Solana does,
wants
dude?
you to believe, like they're the directive. If they can't even make
fact,
her look good,
Watch this. Let's just let them talk politics.
I mean,
Nobody's going to even ask me. Yo, Fib, what do you think Solana does here, dude? You know, I own a shitload of that stuff.
Great analysis there.
Now, not anywhere close to my Bitcoin position, but you and a few others got me comfortable with the thought process I had behind it. What do you think, man? You just write me a little note or something, or pop up if you like. By the way, I never did send that link to my brother, Bill Mitchell. Smart guy.
So you won't realize you didn't answer the question, but I thought that it was, you got tough questions. It was, almost Brett Baer level as far as asking tough questions. She looked awful. And to hear David Axelrod throw her under the bus and say, yeah, she just gave us word salad for 7 minutes. I mean, that's not a good sign because, that guy is a leftist, and so to hear him throw under the bus, that was really remarkable. But I wonder,
Bill, was that the woman, the good-looking woman, dark hair that just tried to slaughter him or slaughter her?
Who are you talking about?
The media. You mentioned the name. I thought it was an interview.
Oh, David.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Okay, I must have misunderstood. I thought it was a recent interview of a journalist, and who was it of? It was
Brett Baer.
No. I know who Grant's talking about. Because here's what what I was impressed by is she was trying to understand, when did Kamala know that Joe Biden had dementia? And she completely went across the board and said he's just fine. Then she goes, well, why are you the candidate then?
Right.
If you know, so that was, I'm trying to remember her name, but I know I'll look it up.
Yeah. But one of the things I wanted to mention real quickly, and I'll hand the mic back, is that, the coup against Joe Biden began.
It's interesting. I can
long
now
before-
see
actually
myself
before the
wanting
debate,
just to
because
do this.
Why in the world would you schedule Joe Biden for a debate with Donald Trump before either man was
Very interesting.
even
First day in, 3 hours.
nominated?
And I'm like,
I mean, it's
we're
crazy.
doing the
When
video
do you have a presidential debate before
What do you
either man is nominated?
like the
Clearly, they wanted him to get on the
This
stage. They wanted
here?
him to look bad.
Or
And we remember the State
you
of the Union
can-
address, how
we
he looked
prefer
reasonably
just the
sharp. And
audio.
it's like, oh, what drugs is he on, that sort of
It
thing.
doesn't matter.
Well, I think, now this is being big
Love you.
conspiracy theorists here, but I think they trotted him out there. And I think instead of giving him his regular cocktail, they may have given him placebos or something, because that guy was out of it. I mean, that was bad. And I think that was the beginning of the coup, to put them out there on the stage and have them look that bad. So they had an excuse to, replace them with Kamala. And I think they might have looked at having some sort of open primary, but they're like, it just isn't enough time. We just need to move ahead with this. And that's why they went with Kamala. And, Kamala initially did real well because she was a fresh face, and they had the She's Not Joe Biden relief rally. And of course you had all the laundered money, the smurfed money coming into her, like $1 billion in 3 months. It's insane, right? And I believe that Kamala Harris, really, they knew from the beginning she wasn't going to win. But I think that she's been a money mule for Act Blue and all these foreign funds coming in. And we're hearing about, these prepaid debit cards that people are being used to donate, and the smurfing where they take one big donation and break it into all these little things through ghost donors.
Okay, let me
And
show
now,
you how we
you
move the
have all these
subject to
AGs that are
Bitcoin.
looking into
Tired of
this
this
and so on and
bullshit.
so forth.
Let's
But
talk
I
about
think
some
what they're
money.
trying to
Let's
do
talk
is
about getting
get
rich.
into the down ballot
Okay,
races.
let's
And
do
they
it.
realized that Kamala Harris,
Got to kick Bill off.
but they knew that Joe Biden wasn't raising any money.
Just get.
So
I
they
like Bill.
trotted her out there as the first black woman.
Getting ready to have a conversation with this
and just
guy.
go ahead and
We'll do it
gave
live,
them-
actually. He's a
bring
cool
in a
cat.
lot of that money and then push that down ballot races, because right now Democrat senator candidates are raising money at 2.5 times the clip of the Republicans. I guarantee you they're not doing that on their own. That's money that's being pushed down by the Kamala campaign. So in essence, I think her role really in this thing was just to be a money mule for the down ballot races.
That's not a bad train of thought. It's hard to tell sometimes what's planned and what's incompetence.
This is perfect.
Kind of throwing shit at the wall. What you got, Gary? You there?
No, it's perfect. I was just telling the audience I was getting ready to flip gears because I'm getting a little anxious about all this political stuff. I want to talk about Bitcoin. I want to talk about hang tight. Oh no, we still have Preston in here, right?
No, we don't. But
What happened to Scott? Well, we never made room for him. But yeah, let's most definitely move to an upbeat, something that's got a chart that looks like, well, let me put it this way, 14-year-old young athletic boy. I think we're going places right now. I think we're absolutely getting ready to jack here unless we have some kind of ridiculous event. And I think some of the people that follow charts would probably agree with me. Fibbaswamy's watching right now, but the whole complex is moving pretty well. Bill, do you follow? Yes, sir.
Did you see the
Go give us a summary, man. Thank you very much. That's awesome.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to
Maybe that's what Sam was getting ready to do, and I interrupted him. No problem, bro. No problem. Sam.
No, wait, so why'd you cut off Degen? He's not going to come up and speak?
No, he is. He was asking
No.
about.
Let me find it and send it to the topic. I can't do it as well.
Well,
As I would like to.
Sam should know.
I was going to ask you, I was curious, because we've talked about in our previous lives and on Twitter Spaces, who the charts are pricing in to win, and if you still think the charts are showing war, because I'm wondering with just what we've talked about, if that's what you're still seeing.
That we're pricing in a what? That we're pricing in a
That the charts are still saying that there's going to be some type. Remember, we've talked about how all the charts to you.
Well,
said
I mean,
there's going to be some type of war.
pretty clear to me, dude. I mean, people are moving
Is
to
that
gold.
still the case?
People are moving to gold, silver, Bitcoin's moving. I don't really think Bitcoin cares if there's war or not. I mean, if there's really a bad one. But gold and silver most certainly are, or in my opinion, the insurance of last resort that people, start to accumulate and drive up in value when they get really nervous. Which is one of the reasons I've always been a little confused in the last 10 years, how the VIX, the volatility index, has changed. And I know mathematically, I know that people are going to come here and say, yes, it's because of the options, but maybe the entire options market then therefore is not priced in enough volatility, because the volatility index is 18 right now. And like, it just seems like a very volatile environment. We have Bitcoin moving. I mean, somebody was asking me today about Bitcoin. They were like, hey, it's such a violent product. And I'm like, well, when in God's green earth did it become a liability that you could buy something at a 10% discount almost every month? Literally every month, if you just shop for volatility. Sometimes, if you're really watching, you can buy the same bloody t-shirt, automobile, car, airplane, small country on an afternoon and get a discount of 20%. And that's a liability. See, I see that this is one of the greatest attributes of Bitcoin. One, it scares off a bunch of little punks who have not done their homework. If they had done their homework, they would absolutely understand what I'm saying. And most certainly, if you're holding Bitcoin, you haven't used it this way, you still haven't really fully understood how to answer this volatility thing that everyone pops up. But it's the gift, dude. It's the gift. And talking about volatility without talking about the return is nearly infinite. From the get-go. So, I mean, there is no other higher return, including the ones that Grant got for all his cash back. These are returns never seen before. Well, they have been seen before, but every time they've been seen in history, it is one tribe or kingdom taking over the goods and properties of another country. Like, that's how this whole GDP thing's been, that's how we started. It's our model. And then they just, start to dilute all their assets. So anyway, this is the world we're living in. It's going to be very difficult to do with Bitcoin. And I think we're going there, dude. I mean, Eladio, you're watching this. What's oil and gold? And oil does nothing. Like just a limper, but you got metals, gold and silver, electronics, energy, refined energy, and Bitcoin moving. What does that say?
Well, let me just tell you, I don't own Bitcoin. Last time I saw it was November 21st, but I use Bitcoin as a leading indicator for risk. Unlike gold, which has more of the properties that someone was talking about. God forbid things get worse in the Middle East or or in Ukraine and Russia. The one thing that concerns me is that silver and gold are more of those insurance. What happens if everything goes wrong? Aside from recklessness and fiscal spending, which has been the trademark of this Biden administration, they literally bought the GDP that we have by basically mortgaging our children and our grandchildren's future, which is horrific. And really, the fact is, Bitcoin has a consolidation. All risk assets are starting to falter, and I think there could be a pullback after the election. I think the election is. Look, the S&P is up 37%, for goodness sake. So
exactly.
It ain't cheap. But
you might have, you know what? You might get one before the election, spook everybody out, have the election, run it up, and then do it again, spook everybody out. That's what I would do. I'm expecting
Well,
a
but
pullback on Bitcoin, but like if you can, because a lot of you're smart enough trader or investor to know, okay,
Both.
you keep hearing, well, I mean, you're around some serious players that understand Bitcoin at a different level. And I'm just going to say right now, I'm like, whoa, really? A lot. I didn't know you were not into Bitcoin. I have to have a discussion with you one day, not tonight, unless later tonight you would like to have
Well,
a
a
discussion.
Big Brother's watching me. Big Brother's watching me.
Who's
and
Big
the law-
Brother?
Oh my gosh! I mean, come on. Who's Big Brother? The SEC and FINRA. I'm a money manager on Wall Street. I also manage my own trading book, and you
Right.
know, I have to deal with the Big Brother guardrails. And
Yeah, but I have a beautiful way of doing that. I just want to pick your brain as to why someone who has a background in finance and has been around the information, just like to have a conversation about, hey, why haven't you at least, because you specifically said you are not invested in Bitcoin.
I sold it. I sold it at pretty much the same price in November of 21 because Bitcoin does react positively to liquidity, and that's when Powell announced in 2021 that he was going to start raising rates into the new year, and that's when I got out. I got out around the same price, but
Same price. What? Same price it is right here.
Same price it's sitting at right now. About it was 62,000, maybe a little lower.
Here we go. Here we go. Yes.
But I didn't.
Can I ask you a question though? Since we're going to go there, right? So, you put the position on. Was it around? What do you remember? What your weighted average was, or
40 somewhere? I wasn't early to the party, but I had a client that stuck a whole bunch of money, and I not only invest in.
But you made a return, okay? Right? You made a return. Yeah. This is where I want to go. So you made a nice return. You sold it. You have been listening to all this when it was at 17, 27, 37, 47. What happened?
Well, I mean, I like to understand why an asset, what drives an asset, and it's liquidity. That's the difference between gold and Bitcoin, where gold has more of that insurance policy in the event that World War III starts.
Absolutely, gold has it's so boring. Also, that's what makes it. That's what makes it so liquid and valuable. It just sits there.
Here, but I'm going to give you some good news. Okay, the sideways consolidation pattern in a market where semis have been declining since July. The only two left standing really are Broadcom and Nvidia. And Nvidia, you know, is the king of AI.
King
right?
Kong.
Summer from July to October, almost a year ago, rates spiked, just like they started spiking this week. They went from 3.8% to 5%, and semis went sideways, just like Bitcoin. And one of the things I've learned is if you get a spike and you went in an asset class right before, everything's going to fall apart. And then that asset class goes sideways. That's a bullish pattern. And that's exactly what we're getting out of BTC right now. It is a sideways motion, essentially. It's almost broken that lower low, lower high, but it is a bullish pattern. Now, I'm not recommending anything because the problem.
Hey, Eladio, I'm so glad you said that because, you know, I look at the chart and I think I do so much work on this stuff now. I thought I had posted it, but I hate the downward sloping channel. That's negative. It doesn't look good. I don't care who tells me it's, oh, well, it's going to do this and that. I'm like, dude, this channel looks bizarre. It looks like it's a, declining channel.
Well,
it is a fucking declining channel. Excuse me. Right?
By the way, I got to put a disclosure in. I don't want to get in trouble here.
Yeah.
With the lawsuits with the SEC, they're going after Ripple again. I have to disclose that this isn't a security. That's the problem because the SEC wants to call it a security. So theoretically, this does not fall into the regulatory burden that I have to deal with FINRA and SEC. So I can't recommend anything.
I'm not asking you for a recommendation. You know that,
right?
We're just having a chat.
I'm saying it's a bullish pattern. It is a bullish pattern. In spite of that little bit of decline, it shows hope. And look, if you are voting for Bitcoin, you cannot vote for Kamala Harris. That's a joke. You just can't.
Well, hey, explain to me why there are some monster players in Bitcoin that absolutely are going out of their way to vote for her.
Oh, you mean the Krasenstein brothers? Are you kidding me?
Oh,
No.
don't.
Don't even give them that. You think I give them any attention whatsoever?
They're nice guys, and I respect them.
No, they're not nice guys, my friend. Okay.
Well,
Like,
again,
this is what we have to stop.
For
We
the
have
other
to,
side, right?
we have to stop this though now, right? We have to stop this. Anyone can go do any amount of recordings they want. They can do it on audio, AI, whatever. Pull every transcript I've ever done. You will not see the behavior you see from those two boys. Okay, it's
Agreed.
outrageous, fucking outrageous that people allow it. Should be like, now I don't believe that it should be clamped down. But I think the people that listen to him,
for everybody.
the people that listen to him are the sickos. It's really weird. I don't even know why anybody would listen to that trash.
Well, Gary, if you go on the most of the people just cook.
Most of the people what?
They're mostly just get cooked. They get blamed. There's not really too many people agreeing with them. It's almost like they're here as some sort of, from what I'm looking at, it's just some sort of spectacle for like other people to make fun of. Check out the comments on any of their posts. They don't have like a following. I mean, I'm sure they do, but not to any degree.
Yeah, I don't really get it. I mean, but whatever. So where are we headed with this conversation?
Gary, I posted that thing up top. I could read a brief piece of it, but Pennsylvania House of Representatives passed a bill that protects residents' right to self-custody digital assets, ensures their ability to use Bitcoin as a payment, and provides explicit guidelines around taxing Bitcoin transactions. No, I was on a space with Dennis Porter tonight. I was going to get to that. I was leaving a space open for Sam to do it because I figured he was all over it. But this is a big deal. Okay, I mean, Grant, anyone that was ever, I don't think Grant's ever really been working on this part of it. The big deal. And I was on, well, let me just give you my pitch, okay? It is these kind of wins that are hugely important. And Joe's up here. Joe's in the legal field. Although everyone might look at me and go, well, you know, he's a trader or like an investor or whatever. But the truth is, like, there's so much value in the regulatory part of this, especially for an entrepreneur. For an entrepreneur or a medium-sized, most certainly a big business, but smaller businesses now need to be involved in the regulatory, like all you podcasters. Absolutely should figure out, hey, you're becoming an industry, and you've got a few people that are taking a shitload of money for doing nothing, for literally just like setting up a highway. Like, people should be looking at all the ramifications of the disruption that is occurring right now, and maybe think a little bit bigger, because I think we're undergoing something that's so significant. Like the rights to content. Hey, how's AI does AI have the ability to go steal my brother's content that he's built over? It is literally invaluable. You literally cannot place a value on it. Right? The library, like, it's not possible. Now I know what his content. See, it's not even about how good his content is. It is the volume and evolution of the content, and it's been saved. I think that's going to be, what's that worth to an AI thing, right? So original content and Bitcoin, but back to the thing, Eladio, I don't know how we got to that. This chart looks like shit to me.
If you look at what I study, and I've studied, and my best talent is seeing when the market gets out of bounds in terms of being overpriced or underpriced. And
do you see this chart? Do you see this chart that I have up or not?
You probably.
Well, I know the charts well enough to know that
Okay.
we've had
Yeah,
a
you're a pro.
consecutive
What am I
lower low,
thinking?
lower high. You're right. And we're having trouble crossing the 68.5. It's sort of like a steel ceiling right now.
I think we're doing it right now. I think we're 68,266. We are testing that right now. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's where we're at.
So that's my specialty. Looking at when we have resistance, because a lot of this is controlled by algos. You know, the Winklevoss twins are pretty rich. They got a big settlement from Mark Zuckerberg, and they have computers, and they're trying to save not them personally, but and then this is legal, by the way. There's nothing wrong. I mean, the big whales do it all the time with major stocks that have overtaken the market weighted indices. So, but and this is really important. If you look at SMH, it declined. It went parabolic in November of 21 when Bitcoin started to break down and when other techs started to break down. And that's usually a sign. And Bitcoin already did that. It tried to get to 70,000 about a month or two ago. And that is a sign that's bullish because money flows
last week. It tried to get to 70,000 last week.
Well, no, but we crossed 70,000 about 2 months
Oh,
ago.
yeah. No, we've been bouncing in the 60s to 70s for like 6 months, 8 months.
Correct. But that move is a stochastic impulse. No, not that different from the betting
We're
market.
gonna have an argument. Let's have an argument between you two gentlemen. Joe, bring it up. Tell him
No,
how.
I like Eladio.
I know you like.
Eladio.
Hey, Joe, but you're an excellent debater, and
Some might say I'm a master debater.
a lot.
I've heard that.
You're most certainly a master baiter. Okay, but Eladio, I was trying not to put you in the master baiter category, but I shall if you need to be there.
I don't need. With me, it's not a competition. I'm just trying to give information that's accurate. And Joe knows I'm an honest person. I'll acknowledge if I made a mistake. Okay, and I think that's a sign of a real person. Acknowledge your mistakes because we're working with a social science, not a science. And now it's a social science that has algorithmic support levels that are artificial because that's what I do, especially, you know. So Joe and I agree. But I can't make a call, but I do think that if Trump wins, we're going to probably see 100K a lot sooner than we will ever if Kamala wins.
Eladio,
Just
wait, Joe, wait, hang tight. Eladio, just real quickly, and then Joe has the floor, and you guys can do whatever you want for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You have one investment to make. You can only make one. God comes down and says, you are going to be in heaven forever and ever, but you must make one decision, the right decision. Otherwise, you're not going to make it into the gates. What all-in decision do you make on what asset?
I'm going to go with VKTX, which is going to come up with a GLP-1 pill before Novo Nordisk.
Wait, my man. Can you re-say it again? I mean,
VKTX, Viking Therapeutics, just announced that they make a GLP-1. They're in the market for a GLP-1 pill. As you all know, Ozempic and Mounjaro are the big weight loss drugs. And Danish.
What's the symbol, pal?
VKTX.
VKT. Thank you.
Right. And I'm not making a recommendation. It was up.
I know. Hey, we're just having a fireside chat, man.
Well, but it was up 20% because they came out with the data that showed that compared to the other competitors that are injections, and I don't know about you, I'm done with praise. Okay, I no praise. And Mounjaro and Ozempic are injections. Well, VKTX is going to be they're in stage 3 trials, which is the last stage at the FDA. And I know Joe is going to agree with me here too on this one. And they're going to report in a health conference on the 3rd, 2 days before the election, what more data. And they showed that unlike Mounjaro and Ozempic, which gives you nausea, diarrhea, the thought of that, vomiting, and that.
Hey, how addictive are those drugs, man? Are those drugs like massively addictive? I have a bet.
I've never taken them. I do it the old-fashioned way. I just cut down my carbs 2/3, and I'm at my weight, at my target weight. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Right? It's a better way. But there's also diabetes people. So look, the bottom line is the stock was up 20% today.
Well, it started for the audience. I just posted it in this live space that I'm doing, and this is the first time I've ever looked at this chart. It opened in 2015 at 840. Don't know the market value back then. Went all the way down in August of 17 to, I don't know, 99 cents, sub $1. What a ride, dude. And went then back up to, I don't know, 22 in 2 years, from mid 17 to 1 year, and went from, whoa, bro, $1 to 22. Somebody made a shitload of.
You can't look at pharmaceuticals that way because it all depended on a binary.
Yeah. No, I hear you. But both of this chart, at both times, it was looking for that win. It got a big snap in 18. So I'm actually.
We're stage 3, which is the last stage.
No, I'm supporting your. What's the market cap on this bad dog?
The market cap on this baby is about $8 billion. When I got in February, I was flying from my 60th.
Here we go.
And I was on the plane adding shares because that's when it had its first big information on the late stage 1 and early stage 2 trials, and it shot up literally the 2 days after my birthday. I mean, crazy. And look, it's a binary event. It's going to probably.
Okay. A lot of that. We're going to switch gears real hard. My question to you was: you clearly did not listen, my son. You have to go to your grave with this trade and leave it with your family. It's not and you might live. You don't know how long you're going to live. It could be 30 years.
No, I'll sell this when Johnson & Johnson or.
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Help me with the answer. Help me with the answer. I know it's a hard.
I'm going to go with my grave.
You're going to buy Viking Therapeutics and take it to your grave.
No, I won't. I'll sell it when they get bought out.
Okay, but you're going to die before then. So I'm telling you right now, as God, you're going to die.
Get bought out in the next year, I think. Maybe even this year, I think.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, you're going to die before that moment. What do you buy? You have an inside track, man.
I don't need to make money to die. My priorities are family, God, and country. So money's much later. I just need to keep my brain going because, as you well know, I'm a pianist. I play chess, and my brain needs to work. That's it. But if I were going to buy something and keep it, I think Nvidia is just really a monster play, and so is Palantir, which is AI military, which means no humans running things. They're sitting there with controls, and PLTR as a AI military play. That's
the conversation I wanted to have with you, my friend, because now Palantir. Let's talk about Palantir, and if hopefully the audience doesn't mind. This I find really interesting for me. So since it's my room, maybe I can just do what I want. But got Palantir's up since 22. It's up about a time and a half. You could have bought it at 6. And it's at 40, correct? 40-ish and change?
It's at 43, 44 now, and it was barely down yesterday. And I look for outlier moves like that. If a stock goes up exponentially, but the market goes down 400 points like it did yesterday, horrible day because of the 10-year rising, the outlier was what did not go down. That isn't a rotation play because there's also... You got to look at the market in different dimensions and layers, and you can't be one-dimensional. You can't just do technical.
Most certainly no longer can, because of the way our world's set up, you cannot be one-dimensional.
You cannot. You can't be a technical person or just a fundamental person, or you got to have about 20 different variables. And I use correlations just like you, Gary. Correlations are the flashlight to the future because they're sort of like tea leaves. It's sort of like the clouds coming in when you have a storm. You want to look for correlations that can be transitory. Example, you've talked about gold and silver. Gold and silver are not supposed to go up with the dollar. They're supposed to be inversely correlated.
Correct.
And that is a problem which scares
tweet. Right. It's canary in the coal mine. I mean, you have to listen to that.
It scares me.
Yeah.
Bingo. So there's something going on. There's either financial instability issues, or God forbid, somebody knows something. You know, I know Korea, it has 3,000 soldiers, which is a joke, to help Russia. But again, you got to look at the tea leaves, and that is a concern. Gold and the dollar and oil trade in opposite directions. When the dollar goes up, oil is acting normal. Gold is not acting normal, and neither is silver, because the dollar is strengthening. And when the dollar strengthens, it could be a safe haven trade. But when it's with gold, that worries me. That's all.
Maybe the dollar is misbehaving.
Well, the economy's stronger than it should be on nominal terms, not real terms, because of all the money they pumped in mortgaging our children and our grandchildren. Look, they wanted to make the economy strong so they could win the second term.
Yeah, no. Okay, so that's not really where I wanted to go. But Eladio, with your scenario in place, you don't think they're gonna. Do you think under the Trump administration that I know you hope and pray for, I
don't hope.
Do you think that we will print and make money more abundant or not?
You know, that's the. By the way,
it's actually a yes or no question.
Print money.
Well, not print, but inflate the volume of money out of thin air.
The Fed prints money, not the Treasury.
Okay,
the Treasury
but is Trump administration? Let's just all get honest, okay? Or is he going to print a shitload of money or not? Irrelevant of the interest rate discussion, which I think you say, hey, interest rates are going up, Fed's lost control. Despite that question, is Trump going to flood the market with money?
He's going to make the economy grow so fast, it won't matter if the Fed prints more money. That's the real answer. Like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan didn't cut the budget as much as he moved more money to defense, but he introduced these tax cuts and then he threw fire on by deregulation. And when you let capital animal spirits go, nothing is going to get in the way of the growth rates of capitalism. Nothing will. And that's the key.
And it is with that segue, that entree, why don't you like Bitcoin, my friend? Because it has some of the greatest intellectual capital I have ever seen. You're around my era. So like you have never, my friend, seen intellectual capital. See, I'm trying to figure out what I am missing. Because
you're not missing anything.
No, I must be because you are a really smart guy, and you're not like, hey, like my cost base is 40,000. I didn't say I wasn't going back in. Eladio, listen to me. My cost base is 40,000 and change, and I hope that I could double my position and make it 60, dude. Okay.
I just don't like watching paint dry.
Can you imagine that? Watching paint, dude. I will watch paint.
Because I got out.
I'll watch paint dry.
3 years ago,
if
I
you
got
would
out at this price, right? And I could still get in.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And maybe you made a great return. See, I'm just not that smart. But you know, I just look at NVIDIA. In fact, I'll just smack up the old Charter-Rooney. And I look at the NVIDIA thing and go, wow, Bitcoin is how old? 15. Oh, NVIDIA is 25 years. If you would have held NVIDIA for 25 years, you have made a tremendous amount of money. Awesome.
I have a stock that went up 300%. 300%. Kava has outperformed Bitcoin.
You're a monster. Can you still give me these tips, man? I mean,
again, I can't do that unless.
But look what happened. No, you know what happened though? This is the good news. Look at this, guys. 4 months ago, didn't know this gentleman. You can see the way we're communicating. Sounds friendly to me, right? Our community is building because of the technology we have at our freaking fingertips. It is absolutely amazing. The glue is, Eladio, and I'll close with this. The glue is Bitcoin. I would have never found you in a space if it weren't a space related to Bitcoin. So I just want to add that one last ribbon to Bitcoin that I think people don't consider.
That, Gary. You know, I like you and your brother, and I like Joe, and I feel bad for Joe because he never got to talk.
Joe gets
That's
to,
okay.
Joe gets
I
to
do
talk
enough
plenty.
talking.
Joe gets to talk plenty. Okay, it's not like Joe's on a no
I like
talk.
Joe. He's one of my favorite people on Twitter. He knows that.
Well, you know what I was going to tell you really quickly? I wanted to say a nice thing about Eladio, Gary. So yeah, I recall vividly back in August when we were in Spaces.
See, this is what I'm good
I
at, building
remember
groups.
precisely two
Building
people
teams
on Twitter that
without
kept their
having
heads
any
together
structure.
and were bullish with that yen carry trade, one of which was Eladio, and he nailed that. And we were going on and on with many people that Eladio are in rooms with about how the world was ending because of the yen carry trade. It was an unbelievable dip buying opportunity. You could have got Bitcoin under 50,000 for a short period of time there. And he was the only person I remember, other than one other, that did not lose his head going in August. So props to him for nailing that and being bullish in an economy which has still stayed in nominal terms, as you just point out, pretty hot. We're going to post in nominal terms 5.3% GDP for Q3, which is pretty hot.
Nominal, and that's the important, because when you look at the fact that the market's up 36%, you got to subtract the 24%, and we talked about this morning. We lost purchasing power in this country to the tune of 24% when Janet Yellen and people started spending and basically nullifying the interest rate hikes that we're trying to put in to solve the inflation problem. And Janet Yellen, not only, Stephen Druckenmiller, that everybody knows this, one of the biggest hedge fund managers of all time, most successful, called her out in front of everybody in the business world for refining our debt under 5 years in 2021, where we could have locked in 10-year debt at 0.93, we could have locked in 30-year debt at 1.75. This could go down in history as the worst decision anybody here, as opposed to when rates were down at the bottom. This is ridiculous, absurd.
Well, they're doing the same thing. I remember this vividly when you described it that way. When I bought the home that I live in, where I'm doing this, the bankers were dying to give me the money, man. Dying. I mean, absolutely. They could not get the money to me fast enough. I think took 22 days. It was a large loan. I mean, by anybody's standard, a loan. Giving the money away. I think we get back to there. Look, Trump, all you have to do is go grab 10, any currency, any denominated bill, and you're probably going to see that 3 to 5 of them are, Sam's back, 3 to 5 of them are, have Steve Mnuchin's name on them. So, yeah, go ahead, Bill, please. Thank you, Eladio. You make an awesome manager.
Eladio is great. I just wanted to say thanks for having me in the room tonight. I got to take off. I'm interviewing Charles Payne tomorrow morning. If anybody has any questions they'd like me to ask him, got an 8:30 interview with him.
I have one question for Charles, Bill.
Yeah,
I think we're one and done, because from a nominal standpoint, this economy is we're going to see inflation rear its ugly head. Insurance is weeding its way. And ask Charles, he knows who I am, if he thinks the Fed is one and done for the year unless there's a financial breakdown where they have to lower rates. I don't think we're going to lower rates. There's no need to. It will only cause more inflationary pressures.
Okay. I will do that. Thank you so much. And Gary, thanks again for having me by, Sam. And I'm happy to come here at any time that you guys want to talk politics.
Bill, thank you very much. And Bill, I want to apologize that I forgot. I kind of got lost in this Bitcoin thing and I forgot. I really do apologize. So I think we're scheduled for a slot. I'm sorry, man. I'm easily diverted. So.
Don't worry. I enjoy. I like hearing about this. I don't really do Bitcoin. I had a bad experience with day trading back in the .com days, and it just scared me off from it.
Me too, man. Let's have a drink together.
I lost some like a lot of money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I have the same horror stories, but you did miss one of the largest opportunities in the history of mankind. I did too, because I was just spunking it all over the place, and I did not have the access to the information that we have today. Like let's get together, man, because
Okay.
I have.
You can't leave me out of this.
Need to stay the hell out of it. That's the people will stay out of it. I know he was talking about buying up a bunch of Bitcoin for the United States. So anyway, I'm kind of out of my depths with this talk. And, I went and voted for Trump today. So,
Hey, dude, thanks a lot for voting for Trump, dude. Everybody give this cat an applause. Awesome that you voted. Everybody should go out and vote, and everybody should ask everybody around them, should they go out and vote? Now, let's keep this room a hopping and a hooping. Let's see. Does anyone have anything to say to what Eladio and I were discussing, which could have been an excellent conversation and lasted many, many minutes? He would have, of course, lost me. I would have pounded him to the ground if
Gary,
given
we
enough
lost you.
time.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't tell if that was just me or not, because sometimes my space has been glitching. So I'm like, okay, guys, is it me?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Like, is it on my end? Is it on your end?
It's me being an idiot, but I'm back. You're back. Who's got something to say?
I'm gonna get going, guys, but I just posted something because you put a picture of money in his mouth, and I love shooting, and I have a 44 mag, but it's already everything, and somebody took it personally that doesn't like the Second Amendment, right? And the fact is, he said, does it make you more like a man? No. You know what makes me? I with my college sweetheart for 40 years. We have 3 wonderful adult children. And to me, family comes first and America first. And I'm gonna say goodbye saying that. And I have tremendous respect for the Cardone.
Eladio, I actually came up to ask you a question.
Yeah, Eladio, you can't. I have all these comments. Everyone wants to ask you a question.
Well,
so.
I seem to remember that the last time, and maybe this is a false memory, but it seems like the last time, I feel like it was you that was talking about the fact that the dollar and oil and gold and silver were all. It was like when the Brexit thing was going on, right?
You don't own it.
Yeah, but the Brexit thing was a little different because that was a systemic shock event that basically put England back a century. England is no longer UK. is no longer the powerhouse economically. I think Miami, Florida. I mean, when I go to Miami, I go to Brickell. Miami is going to be the new financial capital of the world, I think.
I'm not going to interrupt you. There's an interesting trend. Maybe Kay Daly, you can talk about this, but Wisconsin and Pennsylvania often vote together. So when they're both red, they're both red. When they're both blue, they're both blue. I think the 2020 might have actually broken that trend or made it kind of weird, but that's a pretty big deal, right? And it just shows you that in the United States, our elections aren't just state by state, but they're kind of like regions. And I know we use those regions like the Rust Belt as a region, but it's like you see these similar cultures overlap, and that's why some of these states vote the way that they do. But Kay Daly, if you have any more alpha on that, I'm happy to listen.
You're right, Sam. And believe me, one thing that people do not accuse me of is being shy. I was just sitting here learning about Bitcoin from Gary and Eladio. The reality is the fact that we're talking about busting down the blue wall, whether it's Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, that's pretty extraordinary in terms of political history. I mean, my husband is really the one who's the genius on political campaign history, but I've been in it long enough to know that the fact that we're talking about that and not necessarily North Carolina, Arizona, Georgia, that's remarkable to me. That shows that there's a political realignment going on. Not only Kennedy coming over and Tulsi and all of that, but also just the idea that the purpose, it seems like, of the left and the right are changing. We're now the caretakers of free speech. We are now
the working class party. I mean, it's remarkable to me to watch this realignment in real time, and it's so accelerated too. Class party. I mean, it's remarkable.
Go ahead, Gary. What were you saying?
Apologies. I just had a computer light up. Keep going, please, ma'am. Love what you were saying.
Oh no, I was just going to land it there. That I'm just sort of amazed at how quick. Usually political realignments happen over time, and the fact that we're seeing it in real time, I think, is one of the causes of what's going on, not just in the rural areas in these states. Wisconsin and Michigan and Pennsylvania. We're seeing it in the cities. That's extraordinary. There's a lot of bad stuff that came out of COVID. But you know what really good came out of COVID? People started doing their homework. People started learning about things they'd never learned about. So if there's one good thing that came out of the COVID situation, it was, wow, there was an awakening. And that's what we're seeing as a result of that now, I think.
I think that's spot on. One of the biggest awakenings, by the way, is when those schools were shut down and parents finally realized what their kids were being taught. I think that was one of those things that had huge election implications because people were like, wait, what's my kid being taught in school and by who? So COVID, is terrible and awful as it was, it had some very interesting things brought to light that I don't think the powers that be were expecting to happen. So it's always funny how something that is meant for bad can turn around and be used for good. Southern Belle, do you have any further comments? Oh, go ahead, Kay, and then I'll get started.
No, I was going to point out that there's certain signposts in this. One of the signposts that I thought was really interesting. I'm a big fan of guerrilla marketing, big fan, and watching DeSantis and Greg Abbott send the migrants to different cities to say, okay, you want a taste of this? You want to be sanctuary cities? Live with what we've lived with. That was extraordinary. And it started, an entire conversation about open borders because most folks have not lived in a border state. I have. I've seen the results. But to have them have the presence of mind to send busloads and let them experience what it's like, that was genius. That was genius. There's several campaign awards I want to give. That's why
I have 3 more. You are spot on, Kay.
I think Greg Abbott sending these immigrants out to other cities, seeing how overwhelmed and saw the resources like we saw in Chicago, where an underserved Black population is in that house every day complaining loudly because they have lost resources and dollars that they were promised, and now they've been kind of scooted to the side.
Sooner or later.
So
Take me a little while.
The Democrats care about the illegal immigrants to move to a one-state party. So Black voters are going, this is unacceptable. This is unacceptable. My favorite is Obama wagging his finger at Black men saying, you got to vote for Kamala Harris, a Black woman. And they're looking back at him going, yeah, no. So people are standing up. People are standing up. But talking about the schools, Kay, we saw Muslims and Christians come together because of the sexual education and these books in library. You have different groups of populations coming together for a common cause. And this is opening up a dialogue the Democrats weren't prepared for. They thought they could just throw everybody in, as Jill Biden would say, Latinx, which is absurd. Then the Black population, then the Caucasians, and then the different rungs of income. I don't know who's running this show. It makes no sense. They brought Liz Cheney with Kamala into Michigan.
Who is running?
Middle East people hate the Cheneys.
See, this is what happens
And
running
you
these
have all
shows.
this
People
Arab
can just
and
go
Muslim
on.
population there. They don't like Liz Cheney. Who's making these decisions? They're like setting up for failures. And they made it very clear they're voting for Trump. So I don't know what's going on. I used to think the Democrat Party was smarter.
They are. I mean, please understand, they are. but they follow a playbook that a lot of people are catching on to. It's distract, demotivate, and divide. That's the playbook they've had for decades. Okay.
See, now for me, this is hopefully everyone can hear me, but I'm going to probably start turning this thing down. I really don't want to. I could enjoy doing this. Maybe one or two people want to come up. Lighting's a little different than last night. I start to get really bored when it goes on and on and on and on, and it's just whingy. I don't know. I would interrupt that show right now, and let's move on. Let's get back to Bitcoin. In fact, I need to do that. Drive me crazy. I am literally doing this live, learning about how I'm going to do this, whether I'm going to do it, how I'm going to do it, and I'm learning so much from it. The opportunity here is absolutely stunning. I mean, I cannot believe the opportunity here. If you don't understand what I'm saying to you, I'm telling you, I have a gift at looking at opportunities, and I have absolutely never seen anything like this opportunity. And the cool thing is there literally no one has an advantage over anyone. 16-year-old or 66-year-old. Absolutely amazing. Let's have some fun, shall we?
Was saying to me, so Papa calls up her campaign manager, screams at him. He's sitting there crying. He just rips him apart for 30 minutes.
So Southern sweetie, can I ask a question here? What's the stock market and Bitcoin going to do right after the election? In less than maybe, I don't know, 10 words.
Do you think there's going to be like 90 days of review on who actually won? Maybe like, do you think?
Wait, well, before we get there, let's move on. Let's move on to another topic, because I want to move to, look, people that follow me and they come to these shows, they want to understand how to get wealthy and get out of the damn vacuum gap. And us sitting here and just complaining about it, talking about it, whinging about it, it's not achieving anything. I'm sorry. Maybe that's the post I'm going to play here, but we need to get people into the most wealthy, free conditions possible while we have this opportunity.
To be more wealthy and free, I'm going to have to split my ballot. I'm actually going to have to vote for some people Democrat at the local level, and I'm going to have to vote Republican at a higher level.
But I don't care really. I don't really care what you have to do. Just go vote. It's awesome. Just make sure that you're voting based on actual reality. Like, hey, what's actually, or are you going to accomplish? See, for me, I personally do not need, I don't know why everyone gets so racist, so critical of another human being over his hair or his orange look or his size or how many fucking Coca-Cola he drinks, or if she was a prostitute before. I don't really care. I don't care if, what's her name, Kamala, was a cokehead and a super freak. I do not care. Okay, what I care about is what are you doing right now? Or what have you produced beyond that mistake you made? That's all I care about. So guys, look, we have to get out of this little gravity thing. Okay, we have something called Bitcoin, and we can sit around and act like we can go vote. If you do not make proper investment decisions about where you're spending your investment and your time and where you're placing your energy, and once that energy is used, how you're actually storing that energy, you're going to die like 98% of the people on this planet. They cannot even afford their own burial. It's so sad. and all the education platforms here. Okay, I don't really care if Kamala or Trump or Bob or Mary gets in office. We have to have open platforms, freedom of speech. And if that means you need to split your vote, dude, split your vote. But freedom of speech, if you don't want that, please leave here, because I love this freedom of speech. Without that, our money means nothing, absolutely nothing.
You have more freedom of speech than some of my other friends have.
No, bro, actually, that's very interesting you say that. How do you say that? Because I have so much to lose. I have lawyers call me going, do you understand what you're doing? Or are you serious? Okay, this is the problem with this world.
If you can't hear Gary, you need to drop it.
I've got a question, Gary. Isn't it true? I mean, you asked a very good question about investment strategy after the election. Basically, I learned all of it from my dad, who was a banker, but I'm not an active, as active as you are, certainly, in the investment world. Isn't it true that perhaps some of the nervousness we're seeing in the market beforehand, in any of the markets, isn't that due to the uncertainty of the settlement of the election? But isn't it also true that when Republicans are elected, that the stock market and all of it goes up? I could be wrong.
It's not necessarily true. Like when the Republicans take over your entire legislature, and then shit starts going sideways. And this is talking from I'm from Tennessee. I don't know where Southern Belle is from, and I don't know where Kay is from, but I'm a Southern man as well. And this is like, I've always been kind of a blue dog Democrat. And for the first time ever, like, I'm going to have to split my ticket.
Dude, you know what? Hey, listen, I really appreciate the splitting of the ticket, but
I can hear Kay speaking, but I can't hear the
Okay.
speaker for some reason.
okay, you need to drop down. If you can't hear everyone speaking, drop down and request. I can hear you fine. Hey, look, but look,
I'm saying just kick him down and bring him back up.
no, I don't need to do anything. Okay. You guys, if you cannot hear someone, kick yourself down. Do not ask the host and the co-host and stop the entire process, okay, to show that you have a problem. I don't give a fuck about your problem. I can't
hear you saying any of that.
Dude, then if you can't hear, I'm telling you, the rules are drop yourself down. If you could figure out how to put the speaker button on, you can eject yourself and don't ask the host to do it. You're the one that's the problem, not me. Like that background noise, like that background noise, dude. Like you should literally leave the stage right now while you have that background noise. It's not cool. It's not appropriate. It's not decorum, and it's not cool in my fucking room. Okay, so please. All right, guys, let's get to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is my solution. I would like to hear someone that supports my solution or wants to tear me up into shreds about why Bitcoin as an investment strategy, whether you're 17 or 47 or 87, is not absolutely.
I'm not going to debate you on Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin.
Bro, I thought you were leaving. Eladio, please. And then we'll be closing this X space because it does not look like it's we're going the right direction here. I've got other things to do. Yeah, Eladio, thank you, buddy.
But I'm going to say one thing. I posted something. We had a GFC, the Great Financial Crisis. Okay, I know I spoke to you about this. Nevada and Florida lost half of their property values. Canyon Ranch in Miami Beach went down literally at half of its value, and the GFC started this fountain of liquidity and free money. And with that free money, I just posted a negative correlated chart that started this whole mess, where we went down for too long to 0%. And the companies that benefited the most were the QQQs, the NASDAQ 100. There is an inverse correlation between tech, which has hijacked all of the major market weighted indices, and the 10-year yield. That is why we went down 500 points, and we're not going to get a Fed cut. So after the election, we may retest 65 or 60 on Bitcoin. Maybe. I don't know. Nobody's smart enough to know that. But if Trump wins, I think 100K is more likely than not at some point in the future. I don't know. It could take months. It could take weeks. It could take a year or two. But I think I know, but I don't want to say because I don't want to. I want people to make decisions off of what I'm saying. So keep an eye on the 10-year because that's going to guide risk assets. And I got to go, guys, because I'm tired.
Claudio, thank you, buddy. Thank you for the contribution, mate. Thank you very much.
Man, hey, everybody have a blessed night, and everybody vote.
Yeah, everybody vote. Hey, listen, on that note, we're going to close the space down unless.
Strange. I just want to tell everyone, please do not go by yourself to vote. You know, in the next 12 days, we're really 11 days now because day 12 is about to end. So for the next 11 days, please be sure to take your friends, your family, and your church to the polls to vote for Donald Trump. And even take strangers, take coworkers, and take people you meet for the first time. Take people you meet at public gatherings that have comedy.
That's right.
My friend in Pennsylvania got his family to vote, and just from that, he got 17 votes. 17 votes for Donald Trump. So 7 is 1 vote for Trump. He got 16 of his family members to also vote for Donald Trump. That is how we win and win big. That's how you make sure that it's too big to be messed with. So guys, please make sure you push the message. Please make sure you do not go by yourself to vote. If you live in a swing state, please make sure you're making multiple trips, taking people to the polls, friends, family, church members, coworkers to vote for Donald Trump. Thank you. Also, download the Early Vote Action app.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate you being here. You guys go vote. Listen to this cat.
Regardless of which state.
Nah, he's going to vote.
Philip, bro, he's saying thanks, man. He was trying to talk, but like,
I'm sorry, I cannot hear Grant.
Yeah, and I ain't Grant. Now, listen, guys, if you're going to join these spaces with me, if you're going to go on YouTube or whatever channel you go on, I just have one freaking rule. If you come on here more than one time, I am not Grant. Okay? Don't call me Grant. Don't call Grant Gary. We're different people, man. We are absolutely different people. Just because you see twins, we are different, okay? Do not go all weirdo. Notice the similarities and differences. I literally pick up IQ levels based on how people get stuck on images. There is a radical difference between my brother and I. And no, I'm not blaming anyone for like getting confused, but I have this rule. If you call me Grant, it costs you 1/10 of a Bitcoin at the price of the moment of the era was made. That will be very profitable for me. I do not need any advertisers whatsoever. Anyway, just kidding you around, really. But
Gary, what's your wallet address, bro? Like, even though I didn't commit the fucking crime, maybe I can put some fucking Bitcoin at your ass because you're way richer than me.
Yeah, but I tell you what, if you want to help somebody, you don't need to help me. send it to somebody anonymously. Whatever you were thinking about, send it away anonymously, and we're good to go. But that wasn't the point, really. That wasn't the point. So let's
If you want to send the Bitcoin to someone, send it to the Satoshi Action.
yeah, exactly, man. Send it to Dennis Porter, man. Send it, smash it. Good. Who said that? Journey. See, let's get back. Why would you ask your father about something that's technical? He has no expertise whatsoever, or any other profession. Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly, right. So once, I mean, I know this Journey guy's story, and I really admire him for, hey, this makes sense. Let me move on. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're trusting everybody that comes on here. I would make people validate what they're doing, check them out, do due diligence, most certainly do the DD, because if someone can't show you like they're really in, it's not worth it. It's just not worth that they've had either massive wins or a number of losses and wins that like validate they have experience. So
I dox my wallet for no person. I will never dox my wallet.
Logically speaking, though, I just saw what returns I was getting in a bank, and then I saw what returns I would be getting with Bitcoin, and it was just like, okay, this is why am I doing anything else? And
pretty difficult decision to make, right?
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
So difficult.
Yeah, 12 seconds. Who else we got up here that wants to say something? If not, we're going to start closing here. Guys, thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate you being here. If anyone has a one quote they can give me on what the closing price of Bitcoin is on Sunday night at 4 p.m., I'd love to know. Anyone have an idea of Bitcoin Sunday? That is about 3 days from now.
I'll just say it'll be below 72,000.
Wow. Stick it out there, dog. Anyone else?
Hey, Gary, my name is James Zegan.
Hey, man.
I'm the founder of Ohio Energy Management.
Oh, cool.
I started it with $500 when I was 22. And it's kind of blossomed into this great company. We're serving 500 businesses across the state of Ohio, driving down utility bills and installing efficiency upgrades such as solar, LED lighting, improved HVAC systems. I had a group of 3 people that lived in Texas that pretty influential to my standard. And they liked my business model, and they opened it up in Texas called Texas Energy Management. and they're just absolutely crushing it because they basically took a cold call product, and like if you're cold calling and you have a startup, your product absolutely has to work because your cost of acquisition is so high, and it has to make absolute sense. So when they took my product and they just gave it to people that they were already doing existing business with, it kind of took off. So they gave me 25% ownership of Texas Energy Management. Now I have a new source of income coming in. And I was kind of...
Is that an MLP? Is that a master limited partnership, or is that... so
it's just a four-member LLC. It's not a I kind of know what an MLP is.
It doesn't matter. It's an LLC. That's all that matters. You don't need to go down that rabbit hole. So you've got, where you located? Texas?
My company, Ohio Energy Management, is in Ohio, based out of Cleveland.
So what do you, in 2 sentences, what do you do for that sector of the market? Like, who's the customer and what are you actually doing for them?
Businesses over 20,000 square feet, and I'm managing their utility spend. Like Google and Walmart.
You know AP&G?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're actually, we're looking at using them as one of our suppliers.
My man.
Yeah.
Okay. I own part of that. I own part of that company, man.
Yeah, they've made some waves here in the chatter on the broker side.
Hey, listen, they are, I can tell you, I have known, well, first off, the construct they're doing today, Tom Cummings is the founder. He anyway, it's a really weird story, but I've been in that deal since 2000 and I think about 15. And by deal, I mean, I help them look at how they would do their business. I think it's an awesome story, man. They're a great company. I've been so impressed. It's been one of the greatest return investments. In fact,
energy sector is a good industry.
Well, and
rates start going up and people start looking at their bills more under a microscope.
Yeah. It's interesting because I actually don't like investing in energy, but this particular trade, I'll tell you something. I was working for ArcLight Capital at the time and hunting deals. I brought this deal to them. This is the preeminent private equity firm in energy in the world. Okay. Rob Turner and Dan's last name. Anyway, these are the founders, right? So, I bring this deal to him. I brought another deal, monster deal. And I was like, hey, that's too big. Then I brought him this deal. And this deal looked like, I can't remember exactly the terms of the deal, but it was something like, hey, the first deal you need to understand was, I don't know, $2 or $3 billion in cash to buy EQT, which is the Marcellus Shale natural gas entire infrastructure in the system. And they were like, dude, how do you find these deals? I'm like, well, look, it's so obvious, right? Then they hated that deal and not hated it, but it was a very complicated deal. All these deals are complicated. But then you look at something much smaller, and they say, hey, no, I need to deploy a lot more capital. And the deal was literally like $20 million of capital. They have paid me, I don't know, $4 or $5 million a year for 8-10 years. Very consistent, no problems. I mean, it's a real business now. They're basically arbitraging energy between wholesale electricity. EDF is one of their shareholders to the consumer. And there's a big spread between those two. And it'll get bigger with all this AI. And everything that's going on, dude, this spread's going to get bigger for somebody that can connect both pieces of the puzzle. So,
check this out. So we service again 500 meters across the state of Ohio. We represent about 200 million kilowatt hours.
now what's the odds?
Production a year.
What's the freaking
Services,
odds,
right?
dude?
We'll use P&G as the supplier on the other end of that.
I've got an investment to
I
do
met
it.
with an excavating company locally.
Guys on the
I
phone.
wanted them to clear some land for me. So I
Unbelievable.
install,
You saw it
solar
right here
panels
live. Okay, this is the
and
second
then
session
put in
I've done.
several
It's happened all
tie
over
into
the place.
PJM grid along the First Energy, which is the utility out here, main transmission lines.
Unbelievable.
And that way I could register as an energy supplier and just produce the power needed for my customer base and 5x on my returns, right? This excavating company, which makes more money than me, took me in his car, talked, the owner came down because I was driving my McLaren, and he was like, who's here? And told him about my idea, and he was like, no, I want to do this with you. Like, I've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Good idea.
Because he just wanted to do a power purchase agreement, right? Where he sells the power back to the utility. And when I told him, no, you create the power and you sell it to the end user contractually. He's like, oh yeah, but I would never have gotten that opportunity because I was so busy in my little wheelhouse, running my company. That I would never have had that opportunity if I didn't have the time because of Texas Energy Management boosting my capital and me having more time to think about these ideas,
Time to think. Oh my goodness, man. The entrepreneur, that concept, the entrepreneur never thinks about. It's all action, action, action. Yeah, it takes some time to think. That's actually very good use of energy.
And,
well done,
the
man.
title of the space, thank you. I appreciate it, Gary.
Yeah.
There's a lot coming from you. But the title of the space here is How to Save America and Build the Greatest Economy in the World. I think that starts with each and every one of us, right? What I'm going to do is this next election coming up for city council is I'm just going to run for city council and see what happens. There's like,
oh, bro, most certainly you should do that.
500 registered voters in the city. Man, I come from a door-to-door sales. That was one of my first jobs.
Hey, what's the title? What's the title of this space again?
How to Save America and Build Greatest Economy in the World.
Thank you. Continue, please.
So I figure, there's 500 plus registered voters in my city that vote for city council. I can door knock every one of those and have a conversation with each of them. That's what I used when I was 19. I was a door-to-door salesman. That's what I used to do residentially. So, I think I'm going to do it, and I'm going to try to affect change locally. And I'd encourage any entrepreneur that has, passive cash flow coming in, that is extremely comfortable to step out of the comfortability zone, start running for local office. I'll land on that.
Absolutely, dude. Hey, you guys, you know what? I just heard a cat. Don't know his name. Make sure you reach out to me, bro. I got something to talk to you about. But listen, this cat just called every one of you pussies. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. He called you a pussy. All you're doing is whinging and whining. You sit on spaces. You do absolutely nothing. Go to your local office and go, I want to run for fucking office. First off, you'll make a shitload of money. If that's what you need to do, okay, you will. If you're a scumbag, you will make so much money, it'll be dumb. If you're a straight up guy, you will make a lot of money. You'll get really well connected. And I actually think, like, if I ran for politics, I would run this way. Hey, can we do a little level set here? Can we agree that whatever you voted me for has these metrics? See all the crap I'm trying to do right here. And then this is what I do. This is why I should not be a solo entrepreneur or whatever that new term is, because this is what I'm going to do. Literally, I'm going to just close it. I was actually trying to do something and it creates, anyway. This opportunity, man, it's not just about Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is making me understand that the 21-year-old, the 32-year-old, if you are a 32-year-old woman and you're in a bad marriage and you have nothing to do and you're sitting there whining and whinging and I got it, man. Okay, been there, got it. You should go to like the state level, the council level. You want to socialize and meet some people? Good. Go sign up to become part of actually driving change through this thing. Do the hand holding. You then can introduce me and people like me and go, hey, look, I know this cool guy. Like, he's here to provide solutions. So we need you guys doing that. Don't tell me you're bored watching soap operas. That's ridiculous. Okay. There's so much we can do here. It's unbelievable. I'll leave it with that. But really, don't. If you complain tomorrow morning about you don't have enough, you're not engaged. You're not. I could spend the next 4 hours here and people would be in a room just to listen, okay? People need to get really hyper engaged. Anyone? I'm going to close the X spaces.
You know, Gary, you're absolutely correct about that. The problem with the political scene today is that people who should run don't, and people who shouldn't run do. And here that is the opposite. School board, city council, some statewide run and win these offices are some really geniuses. They and you have responsibility to step up. Some of our businesses who
Hey guys, a lot of the evening. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. We'll be Thursday. I'm going to do something on Saturday on the original call. I think that's in the back. And love you. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Watch it, buddy. Watch it. Hey guys. Thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. Had to go to the restroom there. Anyway, in its spaces, thanks a lot. This has been really cool. I'm figuring this stuff out. I am figuring it out. Any feedback you have, appreciate you. Please send it in. 241. That's too long. Let's see. I bet this camera. I don't know what that means. Maybe you can give me some input later on that. Too low. Sorry if you guys. Sorry, I am literally you're watching me do this in real time. I'd never, ever suggested that I was an expert. This is my problem. I can either do this in a closet and not actually get the real experience. I can outsource it to someone else, which I have been doing, or I can actually stick myself in here, make a ton of mistakes. I've already had 2 guys reach out to me. Dude, I can help you so much. This is just the way I do things, okay? And if you couldn't hear me tonight, I'm sorry. I didn't really promise anything, but I am sorry. It is literally how I learn. So you're learning how I learn. If you want to come, when I first saw, and I'm going to end here. When I first saw a reality TV show, no, I know what you're saying, Christopher. But when I first saw a reality TV show as basic and core as I thought it was, let's say, Kardashian thing, I did appreciate whoa, you're walking someone through the whole experience of doing something. Now, the difference is they cut a bunch of stuff out. But what if you were to watch or be able to watch people take certain decisions and do them as business people or as a teacher, or now you need the right personality, right? But look at the opportunity this technology affords us. I have a couple of skills, and one of those is formulating ideas. And the reason I'm sharing this is, don't sit there if you're 20 and think, oh, nobody else thinks like me. No one thinks like me. But I know that I think in a way that is very valuable, okay? I haven't been very successful in convincing people to follow the trade or invest behind me, but quite frankly, I've never actually needed them. So I haven't needed investors. I've had ideas. I've been okay. I've done okay. This is all in retrospect. I could never have imagined that I'd be saying this story today. And I think it's my obligation. Really, I do. As long as this bloody platform's here, it is my obligation to at least share with at least open the damn platform and see, hey, is there any value here? We're going to find out. I'm going to do this once a day, live. I'm not saying I'm doing it 2 hours. It might be 15 minutes one day, okay? But I am committing right now. This is exactly, if you want to learn how to build a business. I've never had a failed business. I've had only failed marriages. I have 2 awesome kids. Okay? I've had 3 relationships with 3 women that were, well, let me just say that they were great adventures. And I ain't whining and bitching. And it's just life, okay? Whatever. There's no way that you're going to be great at everything. If you're going to be great at business, you're probably a freak at something else. If you're going to be monsterly freaky on one thing, you're probably going to have some other skill set. Like I'm old enough now. Get over it, okay? Ain't one of us special, but we're all special. It's a very great paradigm. So, see, this is what happens to me. I start getting, especially late at night. Is it late at night? It's not really late. Problem is I've been doing this too long. All right, so monster opportunity here. And I'm here for it, okay? I'm going to do 90 days. I'm committing 90 days. I will do at least an average of 1 hour. You'll get a lot more than that from me. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. Please follow me. Subscribe. And if you want, if you're going to decide you want to give me, so I will never take an advertiser. Okay. I'm saying it right now. I'm not taking an advertiser that can possibly have any influence on any word that comes out of my mouth. Okay. So if that's valuable to you, if you want to smash me 50 cents, $1, $10, $1,000, I don't really care. You decide what this content's worth. But I'm telling you, I'm bringing you content from my own life experience, unadulterated, hyper transparent. If there's areas, which there will be very few areas that I cannot speak to, I will tell you, fuck it, dude. I don't want to go there. I will never, ever ask you for money. Never. I will ask you to ask yourself, you wonder why you keep getting all these, hey, your credit card's been exposed. It's because you're giving all your information away. I'm not going to ask you for your information. If you want help from whatever I'm doing, I don't even know what I'm doing actually right now. Okay. I didn't know till 2 weeks ago that if I put glasses on, it would be easier for me to do this. At least for me. So I am going to show the world what it's like to investigate whether there's an activity here for Gary that I can both get rewarded for my energy, because I ain't going to do anything unless I'm awarded long-term for my energy, even if it's a return for someone else. I must see a return. 2, that I can actually provide value. And 3, and most importantly, I have to not ever damage the name of my father or anyone in my family. Okay. Never. And there's one thing of people taking pot shots at you and doing things. There's another thing of actually harming the name. So I will most certainly be a target, but I most certainly will not offend my father's name if at all possible. And my mother's, all her sacrifices, no chance. No chance. And I'll tell you one other thing. If I'm going to do this, you can decide right this damn second. I am not a perfect man, not even close. However, I have some basic principles that are just under no circumstances can I ever find any rationale to dilute them or discount them. Freedom is not free. Freedom is not free. It has been free, felt free for 30 or 40 years. Power has never been given. It has only ever been taken and obtained. You're not going to just get freedom slapped out on a table on a website and come to spaces and solve this problem. You will have to most certainly fight for freedom. It's been free too long. You've been able to rent it, lease it, use it, buy it on an interruptible basis. Now this shit's getting real because we have not paid for it. We haven't secured it. We haven't taken care of it. You haven't even thought about your freedom actually in a long time, when in reality, we should be spending money like we spend on insurance to protect our house. We spend fucking nothing on our freedom. All you older guys, Vietnam, and every freaking war after that, you guys know how to battle and sacrifice. Okay, we're just going to have to do it again. I didn't do it, but I'm telling you, I am willing to put myself on the front line and say no to the shit we're doing right now. We are Rome on steroids. And if enough of us, Rome never had these tools, never. So I'm going to step in here. If I mess up, you guys be nice. Don't smash me too hard. And for you dickheads that want to do it anyway, bring it, bitch. Absolutely bring it. Good night, guys. Thank you very much. October 24th, 2024. We are about 11 days from an election. I think we're about 90 days from an explosion on Bitcoin. And we're within days of the end of the world, sadly. Or some other crazy shit. Love you guys. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you, man. Protecting myself with the glasses. Actually, it really feels. Do you guys like or prefer the glasses or not prefer the glasses? For me, I can do this longer with the glasses and have good lighting, actually. Another thing, okay, if you're going to show here, look, I'm not asking you for money, okay? I just hate Google scraping 33%. Send me a. I'm not. This is not about money, okay? But you should start thinking about. Hey, I want to just end that thought. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but if you're going to listen to a content provider that has real value, I'm talking about real value. Look, I'm not going to ever interview politicians on a regular basis or do the Hollywood thing, interview all those people. I'm not an investigative journalist. I'm not. Okay. I want to know, I'm willing to talk about anything that impacts my freedom and your freedom. And I have a particular way of defining freedom that I think is going to attract a lot of damn people. Okay. So if you want to exercise, excuse me, and you want to have a conversation about freedom, subscribe to the show, repost it, retweet it. It will be family friendly as long as I can throw the F-bomb around every now and then, because just it's sometimes the F-bomb is deserving. Quite frankly, not one of your kids have not listened to an Eminem song, so I don't really care about the F-bomb. Let's get over that. Our kids are snowflakes on a sunny day. Let's toughen those little bitches and bastards up, turn them into men and women again, and they will have something to strive for. So thank you very much, guys. Retweet the space. Tell me what you like and don't like. I'm out of here. I'm going to bed. Smoke a cigarette. My dogs need to walk. Ciao.